Chapter 408. 5 storage rings were now in Wang Sheng's hands. The original owner of the storage rings had already died a few hundred years ago. Wang Sheng could easily open the storage rings to see what was inside. In front of the female owner, Wang Sheng displayed the items in the storage rings one by one. Scrolls, a huge pile of scrolls. The first storage ring was filled with extremely intricate scrolls sealed within. On every scroll, there was a name. It was either this pill or that pill, or some kind of paste or paste. From the names, it could be seen that these were all kinds of pill recipes. The second storage ring was filled with the same scrolls. They were the same size, the same seal, and the same exquisite scrolls. The third, fourth, and fifth storage rings were all the same. Other than the different names on the scrolls, everything else was exactly the same. The scrolls were all sealed. Wang Sheng had no intention of opening them in this environment. He just looked at the names and placed them neatly at the side, waiting for the female owner to count. That's it. Seeing that Wang Sheng had stopped, the female owner, who had already counted more than 400, was stunned. That's it. Wang Sheng arranged the 5 storage rings in a row and placed them beside the pile of scrolls. Where are the elixirs? The purpose of Bao Qing Yutang's trip was for the elixirs. The female owner's pretense was also for the elixirs. Up until now, there were only scrolls in this sect's treasured storage rings. There were no elixirs. This was not normal. There are no elixirs. Wang Sheng reiterated this point again. These storage rings don't have any array to maintain the efficacy of the elixirs. It's impossible to store any elixirs. This problem was actually easy to understand. It was just that the female owner couldn't accept it. After understanding this logic, she had no choice but to accept this fact. You have to understand that these things are the true inheritance of a sect. Wang Sheng pointed at the pile of scrolls and said, "These scrolls recorded all kinds of pill recipes, all kinds of research records, and all kinds of ways to use the earth fire. These are the greatest treasures of this sect, not just 1 or 2 elixirs." I understand. How could the female owner not know that these were the real inheritances? But she just couldn't get over it. She was the one who found the elixir. How did it end up with someone else's? It was impossible for a storage ring to have a spell formation that could maintain the effects of the medicine, so the spell formation in the stone cave was the only one here. The real divine pill must be in the jade box. Now that the elixir had been snatched away by 3 experts from the Song family, Wang Sheng and the female owner could only watch helplessly. This kind of feeling made the female owner very uncomfortable. The divine elixir was the key to whether the female owner could make a comeback this time. If she could get the divine elixir, she might be able to use the lives of a few big shots in exchange for their support for the female owner. Making a comeback was no longer a dream. However, there were no divine pills, only a pile of pill formulas. Although these things were valuable, they might not necessarily be as valuable as the divine pills. Don't overthink it. Wang Sheng seemed to understand the female owner's thoughts. At this time, he did not say anything to provoke her. Instead, he began to silently put the scrolls back into the storage ring. These things had been stored for many years. It was better to take them out and have a look. Even if he wanted to open them, he would need to find some alchemy experts to study them. Wang Sheng would definitely not open them rashly. The female owner was still in a daze. She waited until Wang Sheng was almost done packing the things before she came back to her senses. Am I a huge failure this time? The female owner was not in a good mood. She asked with a little frustration. It's all right. It's not a complete failure. Wang Sheng was not a person who was good at comforting people. His answer was also not encouraging. At least you're still alive. As long as you are alive, you'll have a chance. The female owner pointed at Wang Sheng. Suddenly, she did not know how to respond to him. Was there anyone who comforted people like this? What did he mean by still alive? If I were you, I would think about whether your shopkeepers are safe. Wang Sheng and the female owner had talked before, so he knew that those shopkeepers should be alive. However, he still reminded her, this is the land of 1,000 extremes. It might not be a problem for a short period of time, but if it gets too long, they might not be able to handle the dangers of a land of 1,000 extremes. Oh no, the female owner had been focused on the matter of the elixirs. She had already forgotten about those loyal shopkeepers. Now, After Wang Sheng's reminder, she remembered that they were not outside. They were in the land of 1,000 extremes. Those shopkeepers were still facing danger. They had left those shopkeepers for 2 days. It took them another 2 days to find a place to breathe in. It took them another day to come down and search for things. If they were to add the time needed to go back and meet up, those shopkeepers would need at least 7 days. Even if Wang Sheng had helped them find a relatively safe place to hide, who knew what would happen in the land of 1,000 extremes in 7 days? Let's go. The female owner did not care about anything else. She helped Wang Sheng put the scroll back into the storage ring. She wished she could pull Wang Sheng's hand and leave the underground space immediately. However, Wang Sheng was not in a hurry. After tidying up everything, he carried the female owner horizontally and prepared to run across the magma lake. The female owner was very proactive this time. She took the initiative to hug Wang Sheng's neck. She pressed herself and Wang Sheng tightly. She was very clear that the tighter the two of them were, the faster Wang Sheng could run. It would be safer for them to run across the magma lake. With the experience from the first time, Wang Sheng did not run into much danger this time. He ran across the magma lake and returned to the underground space where he came from. What made the female owner puzzled was that Wang Sheng did not immediately leave with the female owner. Instead, he searched everywhere and gathered all the corpses together. "Are you planning to bury them?" the female owner asked curiously. Then, she saw Wang Sheng's serious face. "One is missing," Wang Sheng said absent-mindedly. "What do you mean by missing one?" the female owner asked curiously. "When we first arrived, there were 30 of us. Excluding you and me, 5 of us died when we opened the stone cavern. 1 died at the earthen fire vein. Now, there are 21 corpses." Wang Sheng raised his head and asked, "Where's the last one?" The female owner did not think that Wang Sheng would be so cautious. He even counted the corpses on the ground. But when she realized that one was missing, she could not help but be surprised. Where did the missing one go? The Song family would not let any of them go. Wang Sheng and the female owner had been staring at them when they were making their move. They did not seem to notice that anyone had disappeared. That was strange. Could it be that the person had already set up an ambush and was preparing to launch a sneak attack? The problem was that the Song family must have closed the stone door in this underground space. Even if the person was still alive, shouldn't he jump out and work together to find a way out? Chapter 409. The one who was missing was Black Snake. As a senior killer of the Godly Might prison, he was very good at killing people. Similarly, he was also very good at hiding and escaping. When the 3 experts from the Song family hid behind the crowd and were ready to reap the benefits, Black Snake had already sensed a faint murderous aura coming from one of them. Among Flying Fox's men, many of them carried a murderous aura, which was aimed at Wang Sheng and the female owner. However, Black Snake was already familiar with the murderous aura of these people after spending so much time with them. That powerful and unfamiliar murderous aura caused him to be on guard at the first moment. Black Snake's presence among the crowd was low to begin with. He was one of the guards with a relatively low cultivation. Usually, he was very low-key and honest. He did not do much or little work. Neither was he outstanding nor conspicuous. He did not speak much to others, and the probability of him being remembered when he encountered something was not high. It was also because of this that Black Snake could decisively choose to protect himself after discovering that there was an unfamiliar expert in the underground space, and one with a murderous aura. Black Snake's mission was to assassinate Wang Sheng, not to live and die with Flying Fox and the rest. On this point, as an assassin, Black Snake had never had any moral principles to speak of. Under Black Snake's superb concealment skills, even the 3 people from the Song family did not notice that Black Snake had already disappeared from their sight. When the 3 of them made their moves, the hidden black serpent saw the extraordinary skills of the 3 of them. It did not even dare to breathe loudly as it disappeared into the dark passageway. If it were not for Wang Sheng's cautious habit of counting the corpses, with the female owner's eagerness to get out, she would have forgotten that one person was missing. If she rashly entered the tunnel, she would definitely be taken advantage of by Black Snake. The three people from the Song family had such high cultivation. Both Wang Sheng and the female owner understood that if the three of them wanted to open the stone door, they would definitely not let anyone escape. In other words, the missing expert was probably still in the underground space. He was either hiding in these grottos or hiding in the dark tunnel. Because there was an underground fire vein in this underground space, there was always a faint red light illuminating all the areas. It was not a very suitable place to hide. In the long tunnel, it was completely dark. If Wang Sheng and the female owner were holding a torch, they would be discovered from afar, and it would be very easy for them to plot against them. Based on these two deductions, it was more likely that the missing guy was hiding in the dark tunnel, and the facts proved this point. To be on the safe side, Wang Sheng and the female owner had checked almost all the grottos, but they didn't find anyone. In other words, the missing guy was really hiding in the dark tunnel. The tunnel was more than a dozen miles long, twisting and turning, and there was no light at all. It was too easy to hide a person in here. Because of this, as long as the Black Serpent, who was proficient in concealment, did not take the initiative to expose its whereabouts, it would not be discovered under the eyes of the three experts from the Song family. Now, the main problem that Wang Sheng and the female owner were facing was that the hidden guy did not dare to make a move on the Song family's experts, but he would definitely dare to make a move on Wang Sheng and the female owner. Wang Sheng and female owner. On the surface, one's cultivation was revealed to be between third stage realm later stage to peak, while the other was as weak as an ordinary lady. No matter if the other party wanted revenge or to murder them for money, they would probably not show any mercy to the both of them. In the dark, the enemy was in the dark while they were in the light. Wang Sheng still had to bring along the burden of the female owner. If he were to go against the expert who could hide under the eyes of the three experts from the Song family, the chances of him winning would not be high. Wang Sheng understood this point, and the female owner had also thought of this point. Instantly, the female owner's face turned pale. Although Wang Sheng could not see clearly through the veil, but he could see the sudden change in her gaze. The female owner was now worried about her loyal shopkeepers. If she did not go out to support them, they would probably be in danger. In this case, the female owner would really suffer a crushing defeat this time. Don't panic. Wang Sheng saw that the female owner was so anxious that she was about to cry, so he hurriedly comforted her. There's a way. Strangely, although the female owner's trip this time could not be any more of a failure, but when she heard Wang Sheng's words, she quickly calmed down. Wang Sheng's words seemed to have a magic power that calmed people's hearts, making the female owner involuntarily believe in him. Perhaps it had something to do with the many miracles that Wang Sheng had created previously. After all, this was the grounds of Thousand Despair. Wang Sheng's territory, wasn't it? If it was Wang Sheng alone, Wang Sheng was confident that he could discover the other party before the other party discovered him, even if it was in the pitch-black tunnel. All these came from the equipment that Wang Sheng had brought over from Earth. Although the infrared telescope had run out of power and was later given LV1 Ho, Wang Sheng still had a piece of equipment that could be recharged by solar energy at any time, and that was the single soldier combat terminal. In addition, the single soldier combat terminal not only had a camera, but it also had an infrared lens, just that it did not have the telescope function. In the dark, as long as Wang Sheng used the single soldier combat terminal to take a look after every turn, he would be able to clearly see if there was anyone in the dark tunnel. With such a powerful function, Wang Sheng did not dare to say that he could directly assassinate the expert, but it would definitely not be a problem for him to protect himself. However, now that the female owner was here, it was a different matter. If he brought her along, he would be discovered before he could go far. By then, the active and passive roles would be completely reversed. Standing at the pitch-black tunnel entrance, Wang Sheng looked at the tunnel entrance that was like a dark mouth. After looking for a while, he turned his gaze elsewhere. The female owner obviously noticed Wang Sheng's action. After waiting for Wang Sheng to look for a while, she then asked curiously, "What are you looking for?" "I'm looking for the hub that can control the array in the tunnel." Wang Sheng did not hide anything from the female owner and answered directly. Previously, Wang Sheng and the female owner had analyzed the situation. The reason why this place had not been breached was because of the long passageway. There must have been a powerful offensive array formation set up inside. That was why ordinary experts would not be able to break in. The control hub was usually near the entrance of the tunnel. The female owner's eyes suddenly lit up. Suddenly, she was full of confidence in Wang Sheng. This person was indeed her lucky star in life. No matter what problem he had, he would have a solution. Where could the hidden guy hide? Why did he have to hide in the pitch-black tunnel? It was indeed easy to hide here, but did he not think that it would be easier to be attacked here? As long as they found the control hub, the female owner did not mind activating the array herself and letting these traitors of Bao Qing Yutang taste her anger. Chapter 410. Wang Sheng's eyes were strengthened by spiritual energy when he was in the Qi Wen transformation. His vision was several times better than the average person's vision. In addition, his ability to distinguish colors had almost improved to an abnormal level. Two slightly different colors could be distinguished clearly in Wang Sheng's eyes. With Wang Sheng's keen vision, it was not difficult to find a few hubs around the tunnel that controlled the array in the tunnel, especially when he judged that there might be hubs here. In less than 5 minutes, Wang Sheng found a hidden stone door on the stone wall beside the exit of the tunnel. Some gaps and patterns above the stone door were just hidden at the edge of some auxiliary buildings at the outermost tunnel entrance. If one did not look carefully here, they would not be able to find it at all. Wang Sheng pushed hard. The stone door did not open, but it moved slowly. This time, Wang Sheng had a plan in his heart. He used all his strength and pushed hard. The stone door that had not been opened for 500 years was pushed by Wang Sheng alone. It made a creepy friction sound and was pushed into the wall. The stone door was pushed open. Wang Sheng walked in first, and the female owner followed closely behind. When she entered the door, the female owner saw the stone door that was more than a meter thick. She was speechless. If she was alone, even if she knew that there was a door here, she would not be able to do anything. There was no way she could push it open. There was a stone room inside. It was not big, about 5 or 6 meters long. On the wall facing the door, there was a row of handles for people to hold. The heads of the handles were carved into various beast heads, and they were arranged neatly. There were only these things in this stone room. Needless to say, these handles were the hubs to activate the array in the tunnel. As long as one held these handles and injected spiritual energy to activate the offensive array in the tunnel would be activated. As long as the offensive array was activated, it would not need more spiritual energy to support it. One had to know that there was an endless fire vein here, which provided enough energy for the operation of the array. If it weren't for the fact that these offensive arrays had to be stopped when needed, Wang Sheng suspected that this sect would have designed these arrays to be permanent. Stand guard outside. I'll activate these arrays myself. The female owner was not in a good mood at the moment. Leaving one behind was the perfect target for her to vent her anger on. Wang Sheng didn't comment. He walked out the door and guarded the entrance of the tunnel. As long as no one rushed out, it would be fine. If that guy hid in the tunnel, he would definitely be killed by the array formation. 500 years ago, even the forces that destroyed the Lin family could not break into this underground space. So one could imagine how powerful the formation in the tunnel was. Even if the true experts from 500 years ago all went to the Lin clan, there was not the slightest bit of invasion here, which was enough to show how terrifying these formations were. There were 10 handles in a row. It was clear that the passageway was divided into 10 sections and 10 formations were laid out. At this moment, the female owner didn't care which section it belonged to. From left to right, she held the handles one by one and injected her spiritual energy to activate the array. Of course, when she injected her spiritual energy, she also had to pull down those handles, and then the hands would return to their original positions bit by bit. At the entrance of the tunnel, Wang Sheng could hear a rumbling sound coming from the tunnel. Needless to say, this should be the sound of the array formation being activated. There was a section where the sound lasted for a long time. It sounded like continuous thunder. In other places, after the sound started, there was no more sound. Listening to this movement, Wang Sheng could basically confirm that that section should be the hiding place of the expert. Once the array formation was activated, no matter how dark the hiding place was, there was nowhere to hide. The array formation didn't rely on light to attack, but regardless of what was inside, it would attack indiscriminately. The rumbling sound lasted for more than 5 minutes, and then it became completely quiet. Wang Sheng also let out a long breath. The sound stopped, which meant that the array formation stopped attacking. If that expert wasn't an omnipotent array formation master, he was afraid that the only result would be death in the array formation. After the female owner had just activated the array formation, she also walked out to listen to the movement. A smart person didn't need to say much, and she naturally knew what the outcome of the person inside was. "When can we leave?" the female owner asked. The array formation didn't recognize people, and it wouldn't let them go just because they knew that the female owner was the one who activated the array formation. If they wanted to leave, they had to wait for the array formation to stop. It should be waiting for those handles to return to their original positions. At that time, Wang Xing only took a glance and could roughly make a judgment. This kind of array formation definitely couldn't be manually controlled to stop, so they could only wait for the mechanism inside to finish working. Looking at the speed of the handle's recovery, it would probably take another 1 or 2 hours for them to return to their original positions. Anyway, the two of them were in a hurry, and 1 or 2 hours wouldn't make a difference. Wang Sheng waited until all the handles had returned to their original state. At the last moment, Wang Sheng heard the rumbling sound again. When the sound had completely quieted down, Wang Sheng looked at the pitch-black passageway and signaled to the female owner. Only then did the two of them enter the passageway. However, before entering the tunnel, Wang Sheng didn't forget to forcefully close the room with the control hub of the mechanism. If there was a need, this place could be developed in the future, and it would be a great place to refine pills. In the dark tunnel, there wasn't a single bit of light. The female owner had just turned a corner, and she fell into darkness. She couldn't see anything. In a moment of desperation, she hurriedly grabbed onto the lapel of Wang Sheng's shirt in front of her. However, she felt that it wasn't safe, so she touched one of Wang Sheng's arms and then quickly hugged Wang Sheng's arm in her arms. This way, she could feel a little safer. Wang Sheng sighed in his heart. He took out the single soldier combat terminal and turned on the flashlight function. In an instant, a bright light illuminated the area in front of the two of them, and the scene inside could be seen clearly. It was much clearer than the torches that everyone else had before. The female owner looked at the dazzling thing in Wang Sheng's hand in surprise. She couldn't understand what it was at all. How could it emit such a bright light? Could it be a top-grade, luminous pearl? However, the light of the luminous pearls that the female owner had seen before couldn't even be compared to the thing in Wang Sheng's hand. After walking for about 6 to 7 miles, Wang Sheng and the female owner saw a fresh corpse. The corpse was full of wounds, and the blood flowed for 100 meters. At one glance, it was obvious that this guy had struggled in the array for such a long distance before dying. Wang Sheng didn't stand on ceremony. He bent down and started searching the corpse. After a while, he found 2 storage rings. The items inside were laid out, and the female owner saw one of them. She immediately knew the identity of the corpse. He's not Bao Qing Yutang's. He's an assassin from the Godly Might prison. Chapter 411. The assassins of the Godly Might prison were not like the assassins of the Carefree City, where everyone had a card. Basically, the Godly Might prison's assassins had a one-way contact with their superiors and subordinates. Apart from the superiors and subordinates, outsiders rarely knew the identity of the Godly Might prison's assassins. However, the assassins of the Godly Might prison would always leave a secret mark for themselves in a hidden place to identify their own people. Unfortunately, the female owner controlled a huge commercial ship like the Bao Qing Yutang. She had seen all kinds of people and happened to know some inside information about the Godly Might prison. Something on the Black Snake's body had a secret mark, which was recognized by the female owner. Why would the assassins of the Godly Might prison appear in the Bao Qing Yutang's team? Wang Sheng looked at the female owner. The female owner shook her head directly. I didn't look for it. The female owner quickly denied. I want people who are loyal and can stand by my side in all kinds of situations. The assassins of the Godly Might prison are definitely not among them. This made sense, and Wang Sheng agreed. Under such circumstances, the loyalty of the female owner would never be like that of her subordinates, who would fight for an opportunity for the female owner, even at the cost of their lives. If it wasn't the female owner, then it could only be Bao Qing Yutang's side. Bao Qing Yutang had already made his intention to kill the female owner so obvious. There was no need to specifically find an assassin to deal with her. Then, who was the assassin going to deal with? Wang Sheng was not polite at all. He immediately set the assassin's target on his head. As for who hired the assassin, it was unknown. However, since he could mix into Bao Qing Yutang's team, Bao Qing Yutang must be involved. He had to investigate carefully after he went out. The two continued forward. The female owner was worried about the shopkeepers, so she walked very fast. Fortunately, Wang Sheng's flashlight was bright enough. It was not as dim as a torch. It took them 5 to 6 hours to come, but it only took them less than 2 hours to go back. The two arrived at the stone gate. When she reached the stone door, the female owner suddenly thought of a problem. When they came in, it was Fei who ordered 8th, 6th, and 7th degree realm experts to pull the stone door open. Now that the stone door was tightly shut and they only had Wang Sheng and the female owner, how were they going to open the stone door? At the thought of this problem, the female owner's face was filled with despair. A stone door that required 8 experts in the 6th and 7th realm to pull open. How was he going to open it? They had walked so far and even tried their best to kill the hidden killer, but what was the point? If he couldn't go out, what could he do even if he had any lofty aspirations or any great talent and strategy? Now the hostess finally understood why the 3 people of the Song family told Wang Sheng to take care. They had long heard that the Song family and Wang Sheng would fight to the death. How could they not fight when they saw each other? So they were waiting here. As long as Wang Sheng couldn't get out, it wouldn't take long before he would either die of hunger or thirst, or choke to death from the overflowing gas from the earth fire vein. Death was something that seemed so far away, but now it seemed so close. The female owner suddenly felt that her arms and legs had turned soft. If it wasn't for the fact that she was hugging onto Wang Sheng's arm, she would probably have collapsed onto the ground. At the end of the day, the female owner was still a young girl. When faced with the problem of life and death, she couldn't help but feel afraid. Don't be afraid. Wang Sheng felt the female owner's fear and gently patted her little hand, which was hugging his arm. This gave the female owner a lot of courage. At least when she thought that she wasn't alone, her heart felt better. Standing below the stone door, Wang Sheng raised his head and looked at the stone door. There was a series of stone steps for Wang Sheng to step on. As long as the heavy stone door was pushed open, both of them would be able to get out and return to the Thousand Extremities grounds where Wang Sheng had the most advantage. You'd better think about how you're going to recover after you get out. Wang Sheng smiled and asked the female owner to lean back a little. He stood below the stone door and used both his hands to support the door. The female owner's eyes were wide open. Was Wang Sheng planning to push open the stone door that was at least tens of thousands of jin by himself? In the female owner's eyes, Wang Sheng's smile seemed like a futile attempt to comfort her. Even though Wang Sheng had created many miracles, they were all based on Wang Sheng's extraordinary ideas. Was it possible for a person to lift something that was tens of thousands of jin? At this moment, the female owner suddenly remembered a rumor about Wang Sheng. It was said that after Wang Sheng had advanced his spiritual chi body, he had become extremely strong. He couldn't even eat or walk for a long time. Could it be that because of this, Wang Sheng felt that he could lift a stone door that was tens of thousands of jin? The female owner wanted to laugh, but she couldn't bring herself to do so. There are some things that no matter how weak one's cultivation was, common sense was common sense. It couldn't be easily changed. A person who could lift tens of thousands of jin was already an incredible man of strength. Any more than that would be pure nonsense to deceive children who didn't know anything. Seeing that Wang Sheng was ready to gather his strength, the female owner wanted to stop him. However, she felt that it wasn't good to dampen Wang Sheng's enthusiasm. Perhaps it would be better to wait for him to try once or twice and realize that his attempts were futile. The reason why the female owner could see all this was because Wang Sheng had already attached the single soldier combat terminal to his left arm. Even if she was the female owner, Wang Sheng wouldn't just give such an important thing to her. Of course, even if he gave it to her, she wouldn't be able to use it. Just the fingerprint authentication alone would be enough to stop the female owner for a few hundred years. After taking a few deep breaths, Wang Sheng tried his best to listen to the movements outside. When he didn't feel anything unusual, he squatted down slightly and exerted strength from his waist, legs, and arms. A sharp sound of rocks rubbing against each other could be heard. This sound was extremely uncomfortable to listen to. However, in the female owner's ears, this extremely uncomfortable sound was more pleasant than any elegant and melodious music. Seeing that the huge and heavy stone door that was half a meter thick slowly rise under Wang Sheng's strength, the female owner's heart was instantly filled with an indescribable surprise. It was a feeling of happiness that was completely comparable to escaping from death. The unpleasant sound of rubbing against each other seemed to have become a happy accompaniment at this moment. It was so refreshing and refined. For a moment, the female owner almost cried tears of joy. She originally thought that it would be a hopeless situation. She didn't expect that Wang Sheng could really lift the stone door that was tens of thousands of jin with just one blow. If it wasn't for the fact that it happened in front of her, the female owner wouldn't dare to believe that it was all real. As the stone door was slowly lifted, a ray of light appeared from above. The light was like the holy light of heaven. The female owner wished that she could instantly throw herself into it. Chapter 412. All the illusory beauty in the world was fleeting, just like how the female owner was feeling right now. The stone door had only been open for less than half a foot when a snow-white light shot out like a venomous snake, heading straight for Wang Sheng's throat. There was someone outside, and it was someone who had been lying in ambush for a long time. There was no movement at all. Even though Wang Sheng had been listening for a long time, he did not hear anyone's voice. The other party was very good at enduring. He had been silent until Wang Sheng pushed the stone door open. When he was half a foot away from the door, he suddenly made his move. This was the moment when Wang Sheng used his strength. Both his hands were holding the stone door, and he could not use his hands to block the attack. At the same time, his body, legs, and arms were exerting strength. His motionless body was pressed against the stone door that weighed tens of thousands of jin. He could not move even if he wanted to. Taking advantage of this opportunity to launch a sneak attack was a surefire success. When the female owner saw the light from the sharp blade, her eyes were filled with despair. If Wang Sheng was stabbed at this moment, he would at least be seriously injured. Once the stone door was closed, the two of them would definitely die. However, before the female host could scream out loud, Wang Sheng's side had already reacted to the situation. In response to this sudden assassination, Wang Sheng's reaction was not complicated. He quickly squatted down and withdrew all the strength in his body. The stone door, which weighed tens of thousands of kilograms, suddenly lost its support and immediately fell back down. At the same time, a helmet suddenly appeared on Wang Sheng's head to protect his head. Ding! The other party's attack was like a venomous snake. Because Wang Sheng squatted down, the original target of the attack, which was originally aimed at Wang Sheng's throat, ended up on the top of his head. The sharp blade hit the helmet and made a soft ding sound. The other party's attack was fast, and the speed at which he retracted his attack was also fast. Hence, the moment the sharp blade hit the helmet, the other party retracted his strength. Otherwise, his arms and weapons would have been clamped by the stone door. That was a stone door that weighed tens of thousands of jin. Other than Wang Sheng, there were very few people in this world who could withstand such a force with one arm. Other than cutting off his arm to survive, there was probably no other way. Therefore, he could only retreat, and he had to retreat. I'll remember you, long-legged beauty. In the time it took for a spark to fly off a flint, the other party withdrew his hand. Wang Sheng's voice also came out from the gap, and then the stone door slammed heavily onto the ground, cutting off the voices on both sides. Just by the opening and closing of the stone door, Wang Sheng had already determined the identity of the assassin outside. It was the long-legged assassin Aki who had pestered him several times before. In this world, there were only a few people who knew how strong Wang Sheng was. Even the old shadow eunuch and Han Bing Li only knew that Wang Sheng had the strength of 10,000 jin. However, if he really had to face this stone door that weighed tens of thousands of jin, the two of them probably didn't think that Wang Sheng would have a chance of coming out. The only person who had truly witnessed Wang Sheng's violent strength seemed to be the long-legged assassin Aki. When the assassin Aki tried to assassinate Wang Sheng, it was right after Wang Sheng had killed Dai Wuji. She had used a 10,000 jin wood as a mechanism to assassinate Wang Sheng. But in the end, Wang Sheng had swung the 10,000 jin wood like it was a light wooden stick and sent her flying. From that moment on, Aki knew how terrifying Wang Sheng's strength was. How could someone who could swing a 10,000 jin wood like a stick do not have the strength of tens of thousands of jin? Therefore, only Aki knew that Wang Sheng only needed one person to lift this stone door. This was also the reason why she still took the risk to wait for Wang Sheng to open the stone door, even though she knew that Wang Sheng was trapped below and that Wang Sheng was the only one down there, or at most 2 or 3 people. Perhaps this was one of the few times that she could personally avenge her companions. The stone door closed, and the two sides were immediately separated from each other. The female owner finally calmed down, and the scream that she had been holding in just now finally came out. However, it only lasted for a moment before she stopped. Outside, the long-legged assassin Aki stared hatefully at the heavy stone door closing. She was extremely resentful. She had such a great opportunity just now, but that guy had actually dodged it. She really couldn't accept that she couldn't personally kill Wang Sheng. Assassins also had their own pride, and Aki's pride was that when she had carefully prepared 3 assassination attempts and failed, she would never attack that person again. She had already attacked Wang Sheng 3 times. The first time was the giant would attack, the second time was the ambush in the river, and the third time, just now, was the third time. Unfortunately, all 3 attempts were in vain. No matter how unwilling she was, Aki would never attack Wang Sheng again. This was her own rule, and it was also her own pride. If even this rule was broken, Aki was afraid that she would never be able to establish a foothold in the world of assassins, because she would not be able to overcome her own psychological barrier. However, not making a move did not mean that she would spare Wang Sheng's life. As long as this stone door was completely sealed, Wang Sheng would not be able to come out no matter how powerful he was. Only death would be waiting for him. Aki was unwilling, but it was because she was unwilling to accept that Wang Sheng was not killed by her own hands. It was not that she did not have the means to kill Wang Sheng. Bang! Bang! Wang Sheng and the female owner were listening to the bursts of loud noises coming from above the stone door. Their mood was very bad. Both of them understood what these loud noises meant. Long-legged Aki must have used something heavy on the stone door to press it down. Wang Sheng could even imagine that the 2 stone door knockers must have been blocked by long-legged Aki with strong iron bars. Unless Wang Sheng's current strength was 10 times stronger, he might be able to break those shackles and lift the stone door. Otherwise, both of them would be sealed underground like mice. When they set off from the camp and hurried to this place, Wang Sheng vaguely felt that there were 3 groups of people following Bao Qing Yutang's group. Now that the people of Bao Qing Yuhal were all dead, the shopkeepers were resting and waiting more than 2 days away from here. The people arranged by the female owner must have already met up with them. They were the first batch of people. The 3 people from the Song family were the second group. For the sake of High Duke Song's illness, they must have rushed back as fast as they could. They would never come back to see if Wang Sheng could come out. In their imagination, Wang Sheng and the female owner must have been trapped underground. It was just a matter of time. Long-legged Aki and her men were the third group. Now, this group of people had also started to move. They had completely sealed Wang Sheng and the female owner under the stone door. They didn't even have to wait for a long time. In a few days, the concentration of sulfur dioxide from the volcanic magma below would be enough to kill Wang Sheng and the female owner. The female host watched helplessly as she just touched the door of heaven, and then she was kicked into hell by the long-legged Qi outside. This unforeseen event made the female owner almost lose the courage to live. Chapter 413. Why are you in such despair? Wang Sheng's voice came from his side. There was no trace of panic in his voice. It was as if the current situation had no effect on him at all. The female owner raised her head and looked at Wang Sheng's figure that was slowly standing up. Wang Sheng's left arm emitted a bright light, imprinting Wang Sheng's majestic body on the mountain wall behind Wang Sheng. It was as terrifying as a dark demon. Wasn't this scene hopeless enough? The female owner turned her head and avoided the light that Wang Sheng shone on her. She cursed in her heart. He had such an unpredictable thing on him. Could it be that Wang Sheng was really the reincarnation of a demon? It's just that the door is sealed. What is there to despair about? Wang Sheng's voice came clearly again, calming the female owner's heart. It was very strange. Wang Sheng's voice seemed to have this kind of magic that could calm the female owner who was in despair. Don't forget, I am also an outstanding stone carving master. Wang Sheng flipped his hand, and a hammer and a chisel appeared in Wang Sheng's hands. He made 2 feints in the air and said to the female owner with a smile, "Opening a path out is not a difficult thing. It is nothing more than a waste of time. You also know how to carve?" This was the first time the female owner heard that Wang Sheng knew how to carve. She was so surprised that her mouth opened wide. However, the female owner's eyes were instantly filled with joy. If Wang Sheng really knew how to carve, then opening a path a few feet up from here would not be a problem for a monster like Wang Sheng, who could lift a stone door that weighed tens of thousands of pounds. Just as Wang Sheng said, there was no need to despair. "Is it surprising that I know how to carve?" Wang Sheng asked in surprise. But he immediately realized that the female owner probably didn't know about this. Not many people knew about Wang Sheng's sculpture of the 3 pure ones. Apart from the old Taoist Ling Su and Master Lu, only the temple masters of the Laojun Temple knew about it. Later on, when he showed off his skills to those craftsmen in the camp, Bao Qing Yutang's men were not among them, so it was normal that the news did not spread out. The female owner hurriedly shook her head. No matter how big the accident was, it was not as shocking as seeing the hope of survival. Right now, she couldn't wait for Wang Sheng to start hammering and carve out a path on this side. Now, Wang Sheng shook his head. Not now. Those people are still outside. Upon hearing Wang Sheng's words, the female owner instantly understood. Chipping away at the stone was not a small noise. As long as there was a movement here, it would be heard outside. They were so close. As long as they stood guard outside and waited for Wang Sheng to go out, Wang Sheng and the female owner would probably die outside with a slightly higher cultivation level. This time, the female owner was depressed again. There was obviously a very good way to get out, but it was actually because there were people outside that they were trapped. It really made people depressed, even if they did not want to. Besides, I'm afraid we can't make it here. After Wang Sheng finished talking about the time, he changed the location. Even the location was not suitable. Oh, you're right. If we chisel at the wrong location, it will be very dangerous if such a heavy stone door and door frame collapse. The female owner naturally understood the reason why they should not chisel here, so she explained to herself. That's one of the reasons. Wang Sheng nodded in agreement. The female owner instantly smiled like a flower. It was rare for her to say the right reason in front of Wang Sheng. It was really not easy, but soon, the female owner could not smile anymore. There was this reason? Did it mean that there were other reasons, and the other reasons were the main ones, not this? It can't be chiseled here. Wang Sheng smiled. There weren't many opportunities for the female owner of a business family to keep changing her expression. Even if he couldn't see her face, just looking at her eyes was enough for him to admire her for a while longer. Speaking of which, the female owner's pair of charming eyes were really beautiful sometimes. although it was not as unforgettable as the eyes of the girl in his dream. That kind of charming gaze that could soften one's bones was also very touching sometimes. If such a delicate woman leaned on the couch like she had no bones and looked at people with that pair of eyes that could melt people, it was estimated that even the toughest steel would become soft. It can't be chiseled. The female owner did not think of this. Now that she thought about it, Wang Sheng did say that it couldn't be chiseled. This should be the main reason. But no matter how she thought about it, she did not feel that there was anything special about the stone here. It seemed to be relatively loose to the touch, so why couldn't it be chiseled? Try it. Wang Sheng smiled and handed over the hammer and chisel. The female owner did not believe it. It was obviously not a particularly strong stone wall, so how could it not be chiseled? She took the hammer and chisel, and her hands immediately sank. The chisel that Wang Sheng handed over was considered normal, but the hammer was the one that weighed 50 kilograms. The female owner did not expect the hammer to be so heavy, and she almost dropped it. Oomph. The female owner suddenly felt a little tired and wronged. She could not help but let out a cold snort. He clearly knew that her cultivation was not good, but he still gave such a heavy hammer to her. He did not have any protective feelings for the fairer sex. Serves you right to be pressed under here. A woman's heart was like a needle at the bottom of the sea. Wang Sheng did not know that his casual action had caused the female owner to complain in her heart. If he knew, Wang Sheng would definitely cry out that he was wronged. It was really more wrong than Do-yi. Wang Sheng had a total of 5 hammers. The most normal one had been taken away by the old Taoist Ling Su previously. As for the remaining 4 hammers, one was 2,000 kilograms, and the other 500 kilograms. These 2 definitely could not be given to the female owner. There was also a hammer that weighed 50 kilograms. If he gave it to the female owner, she would definitely think that he was teasing her. The only slightly normal 50 kilograms hammer. In the end, the female owner felt that it was not protective enough for the fairer sex. Wang Sheng was really wronged. However, the female owner was holding the 100-pound hammer. Her wrist only sank a little, but she did not let go of it. It was obvious that the female owner was not as weak as she looked on the outside. In this regard, Wang Sheng could only secretly shake his head in his heart. These women that he met in this world, none of them were easy to deal with. He could not help but be impressed. The female owner had already placed the chisel and placed it against the stone wall at the side of the tunnel. Then, she raised the hammer with one hand and smashed it heavily on the chisel. Looking at the strength of this hammer, an ordinary first or second stage cultivator might not be stronger than the female owner. Bang! The scene of the chisel and the hammer colliding did not appear. Instead, a strong rebound force came from the chisel. Together with the hammer, chisel, and the female owner who was holding the hammer and chisel, they were all bounced back. The female owner's heart cried out in alarm. Before she could react, her body had already crashed into a soft embrace. It was Wang Sheng who was standing behind her. Chapter 414. The reason why it felt soft was because Wang Sheng had used the Tai Chi technique to dispel the force. Wang Sheng had already expected the female owner to be sent flying, so he stood behind her in preparation. However, the hammer and chisel were not so lucky. The female owner flew out of her hands and hit the stone wall on the other side. However, with just one hit, the hammer and chisel seemed to have hit an extremely elastic object and were sent flying. They bounced back and forth on the mountain wall a few times before falling down in exhaustion. With a mosquito-repellent fragrance in his arms, Wang Sheng could not help but be moved. Fortunately, it was only for a moment. His steel-like willpower allowed Wang Sheng to gently put the female owner down. He bent over to pick up the dropped hammer and chisel, which could be considered as a way to cover up his awkwardness. The female owner was in Wang Sheng's arms. The sense of security of having someone protecting her from behind almost made her lose herself. When Baoqing Yutang was having internal strife, how she wished that there was such a broad and safe embrace behind her. Unfortunately, there was none. Wang Sheng let go of her to pick up the things, and the female owner suddenly felt a little disappointed. If only Wang Sheng could hug her a little longer. What an unromantic fellow. The female owner watched as Wang Sheng put the hammer and chisel back into the storage ring and could not help but ask, "How did you know?" She knew that Wang Sheng hadn't tried anything along the way. He hadn't even observed it carefully. How did Wang Sheng know that the chisel wouldn't budge? I just need to observe carefully. Wang Sheng did not keep her in suspense. He lit up his single soldier combat terminal and walked along the tunnel to the underground space. The female owner observed carefully along the way, but she did not find anything unusual on the stone walls on both sides. She could not see anything unusual no matter how hard she looked. In the end, she could not help but ask, "As long as you can't see any abnormalities," Wang Sheng replied with a chuckle. "Think about it. Why is this passageway here?" In order to enter the earth fire vein and to defend against external invasions. The female owner quickly explained the purpose of building this tunnel. That's right, it's to defend against outside invasions. Wang Sheng snapped his fingers and complimented. "It means that this pathway has been attacked by outsiders a lot, including the assassin from the Godly Might prison not long ago." It was a reasonable deduction, especially since the two of them had just finished off the assassin of the Godly Might prison a few hours ago by using the arrays in the pathway. As soon as she thought of the array, the female owner suddenly understood. Wang Sheng obviously felt the female host's state. He smiled and asked, "Do you understand now?" Understood. The female host really understood. Since this passageway had been invaded many times, but there was not a single trace left on the walls, floor, and ceiling. This was sufficient proof of the power of the array formation in this passageway. Not only could it destroy invading enemies, but could also protect the tunnel itself from damage. One had to know that no one who could invade the tunnel was mediocre. Even if the formation was powerful, it was impossible for them to not be able to fight back. The previous assassin had also held on for a few minutes. Wasn't a few minutes enough for them to attack the surrounding tunnels with their weapons? However, there was not a single trace left on the tunnel. From the outside to the inside, and from the inside to the outside, both Wang Sheng and the female owner were considered to have walked through it twice, but they did not find any trace of collision. Then, the protective effect of the array could be imagined. Even an expert could not leave a trace with a full blow from a weapon. It would be a joke if they wanted to use hammers and chisels to cut open the tunnel. Even if the offensive array was not activated, the protective array must have been running all the time, just like the array that preserved the medicinal effects. Anyway, there was a continuous supply of energy from the earth fire vein, so there was no need to worry about the array running out of energy. The female owner was completely convinced. Although they had to observe people's words and expressions when doing business, that was to look at people's hearts. In this aspect, the female owner was obviously not experienced enough. Otherwise, she would not have been at a disadvantage in the internal strife of the family. However, when it came to carefully observing the surrounding environment and making judgments and analysis, the female owner would not be able to catch up with Wang Sheng even if she took turns to ride on the horse. The gap was too big. One was a high and mighty female helmsman who was protected by bodyguards at all times. The other was a senior sniper who often had to go deep into the enemy's rear, and his life was in danger at all times. Although it was easy to observe carefully, one was just observation, and the other was a matter of life and death. The results of the two were absolutely different. Then, "We can't fight in the entire tunnel." Although she had guessed the result, the female owner was obviously not willing to give up. She still had a little bit of hope to ask Wang Sheng, hoping to get an answer that would make her happy. "Of course," Wang Sheng replied without hesitation. "We can only think of a way when we get to the underground space." Compared to Wang Sheng's indifference to fighting in the underground space, the female owner's thoughts were completely different. If they were to dig from the entrance, the distance from the ground would be at most a few feet, or even a few dozen feet at most. It was very easy to dig. However, if they were to fight in the underground space, the distance from the ground would not be just a few dozen feet. One had to know that this tunnel had stone steps all the way down. Even if there were many turns in the direction, the height was not fake at all. It kept going down. Even if a layer of stone steps was only half a foot high, wouldn't there be thousands of steps for a dozen miles? In this case, the distance between the underground space and the ground was about 3 to 4 miles. A tunnel that was a few feet deep was easy to dig. Not to mention Wang Sheng, even the female owner, who had never carved stones before, would be able to dig it in a day or two. However, a tunnel that was a few miles deep couldn't go straight up or down. How long would it take to dig it? The female owner wanted to ask, but when she saw that Wang Sheng didn't panic at all, she suppressed her question. Previously, she had already acted as if she didn't know anything in front of Wang Sheng. Now, the female owner didn't want Wang Sheng to think that she was shallow and ignorant. Even if she didn't understand, she would slowly observe and wait. She wouldn't be in a hurry to ask. With Wang Sheng by her side, it was as if there was a solution to any big problem, and she didn't have to worry about it. This feeling was really good. The two of them walked all the way to the underground space and stopped at the exit of the tunnel. Wang Sheng turned off the flashlight and used the natural light from the magma to illuminate the way. He didn't have to walk in the dark without any lighting equipment. "Give me 3 days' time." Wang Sheng touched the stone wall at the entrance of the tunnel. He closed his eyes and felt the power of the array on the mountain wall. He said to the female owner, "You are in charge of activating the array in the first half of the tunnel. Don't let anyone in." The female owner nodded her head quickly. Wang Sheng took a simple rest, then took out the hammer and started hammering at the entrance of the tunnel. Chapter 4:15. The stone wall was filled with the protective power of the formation. Wasn't it similar to the environment where Wang Sheng, the old Taoist, had comprehended the 9 secret words not long ago? Moreover, this place was different from the mountain wall. The power left behind by the mountain wall would slowly disappear, but here there was continuous lava as an energy source, and it would never disappear. If it wasn't for the fact that there would be a fatal gas here after a long time, Wang Sheng even wanted to completely comprehend the 9 secret words here. Unfortunately, time waits for no man. He could only find another opportunity to enter in the future. Hammering on a mountain wall, Wang Sheng wanted to carefully feel how the protective power of the formation on the mountain wall worked. Only when he could clearly feel the rebound power of the formation could Wang Sheng make targeted arrangements. All of this was to let the little person with combat awareness have a deeper understanding of the structure of the mountain wall and the effect of the formation, so that he could better simulate and strengthen Wang Sheng's attacks. This underground space was very big, with a radius of more than 10 miles. In such a big space, there were only 2 people, Wang Sheng and the female owner. A few days' time would not be enough to exhaust all the oxygen. Moreover, a few days' time was enough to wear out the patience of those people outside. It was the ground of despair above. Staying here for another day, without any reason, would increase the risk. Those people only needed to make sure that Wang Sheng and the female owner could not leave for a period of time, and that would be enough. The female owner was slightly frightened as she once again activated the formation of the tunnel outside. Then, she diverted her attention to take care of the formation while observing Wang Sheng. However, Wang Sheng's actions made the female owner confused again. What was Wang Sheng trying to do? In fact, Wang Sheng did not do anything. He just found a comfortable place to sit down, and then closed his eyes comfortably. He only said, "Don't disturb me, no matter how big the matter is." He leaned against the wall as if he had fallen asleep. Finally, the female owner was knowledgeable. She knew that Wang Sheng had fallen into a deep thought, so she did not disturb Wang Sheng. She sat at the door of the array control hub, staring at the array while staring at Wang Sheng. If Wang Sheng didn't move, it meant that she was the only one left in the entire underground space. It would be a lie if the female owner said that she wasn't afraid. However, as long as Wang Sheng was still sitting there, even if he didn't speak or move, the female owner could still feel a sense of security that no one else could give her. Wang Sheng's own consciousness had already sunk into his source spirit space, and the 16 little people with battle consciousness began to wildly optimize the simulation. Aiming at the strength of the array on the mountain wall, they used the skills Wang Sheng grasped one by one to see if there was a way to break through it. Just like the female owner's calculations, it was impossible to dig out an escape route from a place that was a few miles deep underground with just Wang Sheng and the female owner. If Wang Sheng wanted to dig a 45-degree incline passage, the passage would have to be 5 or 6 miles long. With this amount of work, even if the female owner helped to transport the chiseled stones, it would take at least 20 days to a month. This was under the condition that Wang Sheng had already performed very well. Obviously, Wang Sheng and the female owner did not have that much time. In addition, the shopkeepers would not be able to hold on outside for that long. Outside was the ground of despair, not any other place. Other than Wang Sheng and the old Taoist, only the elites of the Song family that Wang Sheng had seen had the ability to live normally for a month. The shopkeepers trained by the female owner were definitely experts in accounting, and each of them was definitely capable of overseeing an area of business. However, if they were to survive in the lands of Thousand Despair, it would be impossible for them to survive for more than half a month. Wang Sheng could only choose to dig a passage in the shortest amount of time near the entrance of the passage. And the method to break through the defensive strength of the array was something that Wang Sheng had to find in these 3 days. Qi Wen transformation, Tao Tai transformation, Swanee transformation, negative Swanee transformation. These changes brought Wang Sheng's abilities one by one. The 9 secret words were also tested one by one. The 16 little people with battle consciousness were all tested in the source spirit space. In every direction, from every angle, it was just like when he was comprehending the 9 secret words under the mountain wall. Fortunately, the little people with battle consciousness had split once more, so the calculation speed was twice as fast as before. This way, Wang Sheng could test them one by one. After testing and testing, Wang Sheng discovered that he still had to rely on the 9 secret words. It was definitely not possible for his vision to change. It was also not possible for him to have great strength, and having good calligraphy was even more useless. The only possibility was that the Tao Tai was crazily absorbing spiritual qi, but in the face of the endless earth fire vein energy, it was completely meaningless. The confrontation formula was not possible, the army formula was not possible, the fighting formula was not possible, the swordsman formula was not possible, the wholeness formula was not possible, the formation formula was not possible, and the formation formula was not possible. The front formula could absorb external energy, which was the most likely possibility. However, the energy source of this array was the earth fire vein, which was endless. Wang Sheng alone, even if he could absorb a large amount of spiritual qi with the help of the Tao Tai, it was impossible for him to completely absorb the energy of the entire volcano. Therefore, the front formula was also not possible. In the end, Wang Sheng had no choice but to focus his attention on the line formula. The line formula represented a superhuman ability. What exactly was it? Could it be that it was related to the array? Since Wang Sheng came to this source spirit world, he had already subtly accepted most of the power systems here, and slowly accepted that this place was different from Earth, including cultivation, spiritual qi, source spirit, array, and so on. Everything else was basically related to one's own cultivation. Only the array had nothing to do with cultivation. Could it be that the line formula was actually related to array? How was it related? Breaking any array with brute force? This was impossible. In this world, there's a way to break tin with brute force, but Wang Sheng was not strong enough to have that kind of absolute crushing strength. If he could not break the array and wanted to not be bound by the array, then what should he do? Not to mention that various kinds of array were ever-changing and had their own uses. Even the array masters in this world could not use the same method to deal with arrays with different uses. How could Wang Sheng, who had no understanding of the principles of array, find such a method? However, Wang Sheng was not a person of this world. He had his own different views on many things in this world. There was no way to break all the arrays, but there was a way to make all the arrays not hurt Wang Sheng, and that was to turn himself into a part of the array. Wang Sheng had never heard of an array that could damage the array itself. If Wang Sheng could do this, could it be said that any binding and protection array was ineffective against Wang Sheng? How could he mix himself with the array? This became a problem that Wang Sheng needed to solve quickly. Fortunately, Wang Sheng, who had a wealth of knowledge on Earth, quickly found a way. Resonance. Chapter 416. Arrays are a magical thing. In fact, until now, Wang Sheng has not been able to figure out what an array is, but there is one thing that Wang Sheng is sure of. Arrays will emit a unique fluctuation. Different arrays will emit different fluctuations, and their effects are different, but the fluctuations emitted by each array will always have a constant frequency. Or rather, it can't be said to be a frequency, but a group of complex but relatively stable and constant frequencies. What Wang Sheng needs to do is to find this unique frequency group when he runs the line formula. Then he will also emit this frequency combination, resonating with the array itself, so that the array and himself become one. The array will not attack the array itself, so naturally, it will not attack Wang Sheng. The idea is good, but is not easy to implement. Putting aside the fact that Wang Sheng had no idea what the nature of the magic formation was and what its various effects were, just the fact that he had to do something in such a short amount of time was already more difficult than escaping from this underground space. However, Wang Sheng did not retreat because of the difficulty. Instead, he became more and more confident, constantly experimenting and simulating. The reason for this is because when this idea appeared in Wang Sheng's mind, and the concept of using the line formula to integrate into the array, the word line on the giant monument in the soul space actually flashed slightly. It did not continue to emit light, but just flashed. For Wang Sheng, this is already a hint that points out the direction. The row word art seemed to be used on arrays. At least the source spirit space would not lie. After feeling Wang Sheng's indomitable confidence, the little person with combat consciousness gathered all the avatars. All of them began to simulate the experiment of integrating the line formula into the array. All angles, all directions, all kinds of strength, how to control the spiritual energy, how to form the vibration, how to detect the fluctuations of the array, and a series of other things, all of them are constantly simulated. At this moment, Wang Sheng no longer needed to hit the stone wall with a hammer to feel the rebounding force of the formation, so as to determine the distribution of the formation's spiritual qi. As long as Wang Sheng said the word attainment, there would naturally be vibrations bouncing back from all directions, allowing Wang Sheng to clearly feel them. If Wang Sheng were to describe this feeling, he could only use the word bat to describe it. His mouth emitted ultrasonic waves, and his ears received the reflected sound waves to locate the obstacles ahead. Of course, if one were to use high-tech combat equipment to describe it, it would be a human-shaped radar. Of course, it was not one of Wang Sheng's organs, but a spiritual energy shield spread out by the Xing formula. With this spiritual energy shield, Wang Sheng could receive responses from all directions. However, being able to receive feedback from the formation was only the first step. Wang Sheng still needed to be able to simulate the fluctuations of the formation and integrate with the formation itself. This required the combat consciousness of the little person to continuously simulate and calculate. It was in this kind of environment, with a single formation's fluctuations, and a continuous protection formation that never stopped, that Wang Sheng could continuously simulate contact with it. If it was any other place, even if the formation was only stopped and restarted, the fluctuations would be slightly different. For Wang Sheng's initial simulation, it would be a disaster. Wang Sheng even suspected that all these encounters had been arranged by the heavens, so that he could comprehend the complete mantra of 9 syllables in the land of thousand despair. Otherwise, how could there be an underground space several miles below the lush forest, with active volcanoes and lava in it? Fortunately, Wang Sheng's combat consciousness had split into 16, and his speed was twice as fast as before. Otherwise, a short period of 2 to 3 days would not have been enough for Wang Sheng to comprehend and learn the first stage, let alone complete the second stage. At the beginning, when Wang Sheng was chanting the word attainment, the female owner could still hear it, which made her very curious. However, later, when Wang Sheng was chanting the word attainment, more and more, the female owner could no longer hear it. It was as if with Wang Sheng's chanting, the frequency of his voice became higher and higher, beyond the range of the female owner's hearing range, becoming ultrasonic waves. Wang Sheng's way of doing things was really incomprehensible. The female owner was so confused that she wished she could grab Wang Sheng and ask him in detail to solve the curiosity in her heart. Fortunately, she still remembered Wang Sheng's warning, "Don't disturb him no matter how big the matter is," so she did not make a move. On the first day, Wang Sheng was chanting nonstop. On the second day, when Wang Sheng's mouth moved, the female owner could no longer hear any sound. On the third day, Wang Sheng began to reach out and touch the wall, which made the female owner even more confused. It was too strange. Gotcha! As Wang Sheng's hand dug out a piece of gravel the size of a button on the wall, Wang Sheng finally stopped being so mysterious, opened his eyes, and stood up. This stone wall was continuously protected by an array. Even if Wang Sheng used a heavy hammer, it would be impossible to smash anything on it, let alone leave a mark. However, just now, Wang Sheng had dug out a small piece of gravel with his bare hands, which had already achieved the goal that Wang Sheng wanted to achieve. The attainment formula was really used in the array. Just now, he was able to dig out a piece of the mountain wall, because Wang Sheng's body and the fluctuations that the array emitted were exactly the same, so he was not affected by the array at all. This was also the first time that Wang Sheng had successfully used the attainment formula. In the soul origin space, the last attainment character on the giant monument finally emitted a dim light. Wang Sheng was so happy that he almost jumped up. Finally, he saw the hope of Pu Lao transformation. As long as he cultivated the attainment formula to the same proficiency as the other 8 characters, the day of advancement would be just around the corner. Is it done? Can we go out now? Seeing that Wang Sheng stood up, the female owner excitedly ran to Wang Sheng's side, grabbed his arm, and asked, "I have an idea." Wang Sheng smiled and gave the female owner an answer that made her completely calm down. Then, he saw the female owner's eyes filled with tears. The female owner really cried tears of joy. Since entering the place of Thousand Despair, before entering the place of Thousand Despair, there had been all kinds of intrigues, all kinds of conspiracies. Just on the way here, they had constantly fallen from heaven to hell, looked up at heaven, and fell into hell, back and forth several times. Even if their nerves were made of iron, they needed to vent at this moment. Wang Sheng could only gently pat the female owner's back, reluctantly comforting her. In his heart, he sighed. It really wasn't easy at such a young age. After the female owner cried for a while, it seemed that her crying had really calmed down, and she slowly stopped crying. Feeling a little embarrassed, she tidied up, then turned to Wang Sheng and asked, "How do we get out?" Chapter 417. The female owner had been waiting anxiously for a long time. When she heard what Wang Sheng said, she couldn't wait to drag Wang Sheng to find a way out. Unfortunately, Wang Sheng wasn't in a hurry. Instead, he leisurely ate some food and drank some water. He took care of his physiological needs in the toilet of the alchemy room, found a suitable room, and slept comfortably. After the female owner saw Wang Sheng's series of actions, she then remembered that Wang Sheng seemed to have not eaten, drunk, or slept for 3 days and 3 nights. Her face blushed, and she didn't show any signs of urging him anymore. It wasn't until Wang Sheng woke up that the female owner carefully called out to Wang Sheng to see if he was preparing to go out. In the end, Wang Sheng really didn't seem to have any intention of going out immediately. Instead, he walked to the entrance of the largest grotto and faced the broken entrance of the grotto, muttering something. This grotto had already been ransacked by the flying fox, and the elixirs inside had already been taken away. Logically speaking, it should be empty, and there wasn't anything worth taking. Why was Wang Sheng still here? In addition, there was an extremely strong protective array outside this grotto. Once you were bound by the array, even if the array didn't kill you, the earth fire below would kill you. Wang Sheng stood at the entrance of the grotto for more than an hour. He didn't move at all, but his lips kept moving up and down. The female owner had no idea what Wang Sheng wanted to do, but at this time, she could only look at Wang Sheng, not daring to urge him. An hour later, under the gaze of the female owner, Wang Sheng extended his hand towards the grotto entrance. The female owner was shocked. She had seen with her own eyes that the 5 guards from the Flying Fox's side had been burned to ashes by the array. What was happening to Wang Sheng? Just as she was about to grab hold of Wang Sheng, the female owner's heart suddenly moved. At that time, Wang Sheng was right beside her. It was impossible that she had seen it and Wang Sheng had not. Wang Sheng was such a cautious person that he would even count the corpses on the ground. How could he be so muddle-headed as to commit suicide by hitting the formation? The female owner stopped and took 2 steps back. She carefully observed Wang Sheng's actions. Wang Sheng's hand slowly moved forward until it couldn't move any further. Wang Sheng even took 2 steps forward. In the female owner's speculation, a virtual barrier blocking Wang Sheng's path did not happen. There seemed to be nothing in front of Wang Sheng. He kept moving forward, his hand reaching into the stone door of the grotto. Not only his hands, but Wang Sheng's feet did not stop and kept moving forward. Then, under the female owner's confused gaze, he casually walked into the cave. Nothing happened along the way. Had the formation lost its effect? The female owner was puzzled. How could it be? The source of the formation's power came from the underground fire vein. As long as the fire vein was not extinguished, the formation would continue to run. How could it have lost its effect? But how did Wang Sheng walk in? He didn't seem to do anything and just walked in so easily. If it was really that simple, how did Flying Fox's subordinates die? What an unjust death. The female owner couldn't believe her eyes. She didn't believe it and was about to imitate Wang Sheng and walk forward. Suddenly, she thought of the fate of Flying Fox's men and couldn't help but be more cautious. She picked up a stone from the ground and threw it into the grotto door with all her might. Bang, a soft sound. As expected by the female owner, the stone seemed to have hit a transparent barrier when it was a few feet away from the door and bounced away. The formation was still there. But how did Wang Sheng go in? He didn't even let the formation reject him. He just walked in. If she didn't see it with her own eyes, the female owner would definitely suspect that the person who described this situation was lying to her. The female owner even suspected that she had been in the underground space for too long and inhaled too much of that irritating gas, causing her to hallucinate. Wang Sheng was testing his newly mastered Xing formula. Although the offensive formation in the tunnel wasn't activated, who knew if it would attack him when he broke the stone wall? So, Wang Sheng had to be sure that he wouldn't trigger the formation before he made a move. The formation outside the largest grotto door was perfect for Wang Sheng to test his mastery of the Xing formula. He chose this formation because the space outside the formation was large enough. If something went wrong, Wang Sheng was confident that he could escape. From the current situation, the Xing formula had perfectly achieved the function that Wang Sheng expected. The only thing that was not satisfactory was that the Xing formula took too long to take effect. From the moment Wang Sheng first sensed the fluctuations of the array formation to the moment he fused with it, it took him an hour. With such a long time, it would be fine if there was enough time and there were no disturbances. However, if he encountered an emergency situation, he might not be able to use it at all. It seemed that after this trip, no matter what, Wang Sheng had to find a way to cultivate the Xing formula to the extreme. He didn't dare to say that he could do it as he pleased, but at least he could quickly get into the situation. Since he had entered this grotto, Wang Sheng of course wanted to see if there was anything worth plundering inside. He turned around and greeted the female owner, who was anxious outside, and asked her to wait. Wang Sheng began to carefully observe the large grotto. The female owner was completely stunned. What kind of ability did Wang Sheng have just now? If Flying Fox had cooperated with Wang Sheng honestly, why would so many of his companions have died? He would have returned with the elixir recipe and the elixir. Unfortunately, their hearts were not in the right place. Not only did they want to kill her, but they also wanted to plot against Wang Sheng. In the end, they deserved to die. How could the people from the Song family come so coincidentally? They didn't come when they were looking for other things, but when they were looking for the elixir. It would be strange if those bastards from Baoqing Yutang didn't secretly spread the news. Unfortunately, they underestimated Wang Sheng and the power of the Song family's experts. In the end, they were completely annihilated. Wang Sheng walked around inside and basically didn't see anything good. The furniture was not bad, but it was good on Earth. It was ordinary here. The only thing that could catch Wang Sheng's eye was that huge alchemy furnace. This alchemy furnace was really too big. The belly of the furnace was as thick as two Wang Sheng's arms. Its thickness and weight were estimated to be at least 10 tons. To be honest, Wang Sheng didn't know alchemy, and he didn't think he needed to learn it. Modern medicine on Earth was so advanced. Even traditional Chinese medicine didn't need such a huge thing to refine medicine. However, this didn't prevent the metal material of the alchemy furnace from tempting Wang Sheng. Chapter 4:18. The alchemy furnaces in the previous alchemy rooms were relatively smaller, and they weren't directly above the lava and could be moved. Only the one in front of him was directly above the lava, and half of the furnace was immersed in the lava. The melting point of iron was more than 1,500 degrees Celsius, which was definitely higher than lava. However, at this temperature, ordinary ironware or other metals would at least turn red. This was the uniqueness of this alchemy furnace. Although a small part of it was immersed in the lava, it still maintained its original color. He didn't know what alloy it was made of, but just this alone made Wang Sheng feel that it was extraordinary. However, with such a huge alchemy furnace, even if it was cooled down, Wang Sheng wouldn't move it, let alone at such a high temperature. Whether he could move it or not was one thing, but no matter what, it was impossible for Wang Sheng to move this alchemy furnace, right? In addition, this alchemy furnace was too big. Even Wang Sheng's top-notch storage ring couldn't fit it, let alone those ordinary goods. At that time, Fei Hu must have realized that this alchemy furnace was extraordinary, but he couldn't do anything about it. This was probably the reason. Forget it. I'll just leave it here. In the future, when I meet some powerful alchemy masters, I'll bring them here to refine pills. Earth fire vein, super alchemy furnace, and even a divine pill like the rejuvenation pill could be refined. Maybe in the future, it would be a holy land for alchemy. Seeing that there was nothing else, Wang Sheng spent another hour to walk out of the cave. This time, he didn't need to experiment anymore. He could directly make his move near the stone door at the exit of the tunnel. When the two of them walked to the stone door again, the female owner was still a little worried that those people were still guarding outside. Don't worry, there's definitely no one outside. Wang Sheng smiled and gave the female owner such an answer. Why are you so sure? The female owner didn't dare to believe it. Could it be that Wang Sheng had X-ray vision and could see things outside? Wang Sheng smiled and didn't explain. Although Wang Sheng was attacked when the stone door was opened, the moment it was opened was enough for Wang Sheng to transmit some sounds. While warning the long-legged Aki, Wang Sheng's wholeness formula and formation formula of the Buddhist incantation of 9 words had been activated. All kinds of insects within the range of sound transmission would attack large animals indiscriminately, including humans. If it wasn't for the fact that Flying Fox and the rest had chased the insects away from the area to avoid arousing their suspicions, Long-Legged Aki and the rest would have died on the spot. If the Long-Legged Aki and the others had locked the stone door and left quickly, they might have been able to escape. If they waited for the surrounding insects to gather, even if they didn't die, they wouldn't have the chance to attack Wang Sheng again. Standing on the steps, Wang Sheng exerted all his strength and tried to lift the stone door again. Unfortunately, Aki and the others didn't hold back. Wang Sheng tried to lift it twice, but he couldn't lift it at all. Now, he could only try to open up a passage from the side. The female owner was a little frightened. Seeing that Wang Sheng failed to lift the door twice, she was afraid and expectant at the same time. However, she had learned her lesson. If Wang Sheng didn't say anything, she wouldn't take the initiative to question him. Do you trust me? Wang Sheng stepped back and gestured for the female owner to sit beside him. Then he asked softly, "Yes." The female owner nodded without hesitation. At this time, if she didn't trust Wang Sheng, who else could she trust? "In a while, I will do something. You must trust me," Wang Sheng said to the female owner in a serious tone. "You saw just now? I have a way to pass through a formation." Wang Sheng deliberated over his words and explained to the female owner, "But I can't bring someone through a formation. Do you understand what I mean?" It was easy to understand. Wang Sheng could only walk alone. He couldn't bring the female owner with him. The female owner was panicking, but she didn't show it on her face. At least, she had a veil covering her face. She didn't let Wang Sheng see it. She just nodded silently. "So, I plan to go through the formation alone. Then, I will open up a path to the top. I will move the things on the stone door away. Then, I will open the stone door and let you out." Wang Sheng said his plan in one breath. Then, he looked at the female owner and waited for her reaction. The female owner was silent for a long time. Finally, she nodded. Right now, there was actually no better way. The only way was for Wang Sheng to go out and save her. Fortunately, as long as Wang Sheng moved fast, he could get out in a few hours. Wang Sheng smiled. The reason why he explained it this way was so that the female owner wouldn't find out that something was wrong and disturb him. Wang Sheng's current Xing formula could not be used skillfully. It took an hour to prepare. The female owner was mainly afraid of disturbing Wang Sheng or for other reasons. Wang Sheng couldn't get out. After he was ready, Wang Sheng took the hammer and chisel. He used the Xing formula in the tunnel not far from the stone door. An hour later, Wang Sheng began to dig. The female owner was surprised to find that no matter how hard she hammered and chiseled, she couldn't make any stone wall come down. Now, when Wang Sheng hammered, he could chisel a stone that was about the size of a human head. At this speed, it wouldn't take long for the two of them to get out. Wang Sheng was also working hard. He didn't need to carve any art. He just wanted to open up a way out. There was no need for meticulous carving. As long as people could get through, it would be fine. Hence, the speed was very fast. 2 torches were lit in the tunnel. The female owner was responsible for moving the stones that Wang Sheng chiseled down to the side. The two of them had a tacit understanding. However, after a while, the female owner didn't need to move anything. Wang Sheng's body had already entered the tunnel that he dug out. The stones that were chiseled down were blocked by the array when they rolled down, unable to enter the tunnel. This was actually equivalent to Wang Sheng trapping himself in an area that could only accommodate his body a little bigger than his own body. The stones chiseled down from above filled the bottom. If Wang Sheng didn't move fast enough, when the gap below was filled up, Wang Sheng would soon suffocate. Fortunately, this place wasn't far from the top. Although the stones were hard, as long as they got out of the array, Wang Sheng would have no difficulty chiseling them. After passing through the array, it took less than an hour for Wang Sheng to return to the surface. As expected, the stone door was pinned by the killer Aki with a thick iron rod. There were also a few huge stones on the door knockers. Even if Wang Sheng's strength was doubled, he wouldn't be able to open it from below. The female owner waited alone in the tunnel. She was afraid and panicked. On one hand, she was afraid that Wang Sheng's method wouldn't work. On the other hand, she was afraid that Wang Sheng wouldn't let her out after he got out. Fortunately, her mind was still relatively clear. She knew that Wang Sheng still wanted the array map that she promised. Besides, if Wang Sheng wanted to kill her, he didn't need to use such a stupid method. That was why she persisted in the tunnel that was only illuminated by 2 torches. Just when the female owner felt that almost a year had passed and was getting a little impatient, there was a movement from the stone door above. Then a stone door slowly opened. The long-lost sunshine shone through the open stone door. It was so warm. Chapter 419. With the help of Wang Sheng, the female owner came out of the stone door and once again saw the sunlight that she had not seen for a long time. Because the sunlight was too dazzling, she had to use her hands to block it. It took her a while to adapt. Counting back and forth, Wang Sheng and the female owner had been down there for more than 5 days. After 6 days, they were finally able to see the light of day again. The The female owner was obviously happy that she had escaped from death. There was also an indescribable feeling that she was happy that Wang Sheng did not abandon her. After coming out, she hugged Wang Sheng's arm and almost cried. Luckily, after Wang Sheng comforted her for a while, he saw that the female owner was still in a bit of a daze. He had to remind her that there were still more than 10 shopkeepers waiting for her in the land of thousand despair. This reminder was indeed useful. The female owner instantly put away her emotions and urged Wang Sheng to hurry in that direction. After such a long time, the cultivation of those shopkeepers was not very high. If anything happened to them, it would not be worth it. The female owner had lost almost everything. All that was left was this group of loyal shopkeepers and guards. If anything happened to them, the female owner could forget about making a comeback. Wang Sheng knew the female owner's feelings, so he carried her and ran very fast. Previously, they had brought a team of a few dozen people. They could not go fast even if they wanted to. Now that there was only the female owner, Wang Sheng simply carried her on his back and ran like crazy. Leaning on Wang Sheng's back, the female owner felt Wang Sheng's strong muscles under her body. She was also very excited. However, when she saw that Wang Sheng was running at full speed in the land of thousand despair with her on his back, not caring about any demon beasts or insects, she was quite surprised. Finally, he knew how much of an advantage Wang Sheng had in the land of thousand despair. When they came here, it would have taken more than 2 days. However, when Wang Sheng ran, it only took more than half a day. This was when he was carrying a person on his back. Otherwise, it would have been even shorter. When they were close to the big tree that was big enough for everyone to hide in, Wang Sheng let the female owner down and asked her to greet them first. Otherwise, it wouldn't be worth it if he were to get killed by those loyal guards. Uncle Lu, Uncle Lu. The female owner did as she was told and shouted towards the tree from afar. Then, she walked towards the tree while shouting. The shopkeepers and guards, who had been waiting for 7 to 8 days, were mentally and physically exhausted. When they suddenly heard their Mrs. voice, they immediately perked up. The few of them sat up in surprise and joy. They all saw the surprised expressions on each other's faces. This was not an auditory hallucination. Lowering their guard, everyone looked in the direction of the voice and immediately saw the young mistress rushing over. Although it had only been a mere 7 or 8 days, in the hearts of everyone, it was as if half a lifetime had passed. In this short period of 7 or 8 days, everyone had been living in torment every day. Now they finally saw hope. Miss, Uncle Lu was the oldest shopkeeper. He was the first to greet the female owner. The past few days had been extremely dangerous for them. In the first few days, it was fine. Wang Sheng had said that there would probably not be any life-threatening insects for a few days. But after 5 days, the situation began to change. Some insects slowly appeared around the big tree that they were living in. If it weren't for the outstanding cultivation of the guards who followed behind, it was estimated that several of these shopkeepers would have died in the last 2 days. Even so, 5 or 6 of those loyal guards were injured. Fortunately, everyone carried the new medicine of the imperial treasury with them, which saved everyone's lives. Where are Fei Hu and the others? When the group of shopkeepers climbed down the tree under Wang Sheng's signal, the first question Uncle Lu asked was the whereabouts of Baoqing Yutang and the others. They're all gone. Dead. The female owner quickly replied. They were attacked by the Song family in the underground palace. Not only were they all killed, but even their elixirs were taken away. Haiduk Song's health was unwell. This was no longer a secret. Especially for businessmen, they had already found out about it. When they heard that it was the experts of the Song family who took the elixirs, no one was surprised at all. This time, Baoqing Yutang had obviously set out with great fanfare within a certain range. They did not hide their target at all. It would be strange if the Song family did not make a move after hearing about it. These few days, while Uncle Lu and the others were waiting bitterly, they actually understood. The purpose of this so-called search for the elixirs was not to obtain the elixirs, but to kill the female owner and the others. In the outside world, if they killed their own family members and loyal subordinates like this, everyone would be disappointed. Therefore, The new owner of Baoqing Yutang specially thought of this method to let them enter the land of Thousand Despair. In any case, once they entered the land of Thousand Despair, the life and death of the female owner and Uncle Lu would be completely controlled by Fei Hu. Releasing the news to attract the attention of the Song family was also a tactic. If the experts of the Song family wanted to fight for the elixirs, they would definitely kill the female owner and the others. When that time came, the female owner of Baoqing Yutang would die at the hands of the Song family, and outsiders would not be able to say anything. If the Song family did not make a move, then Fei Hu and the others would make a move. After all, dying in the land of Thousand Despair was too normal. "Miss, how did you survive?" Uncle Lu and the others were also very surprised when they heard this. Fei Hu and his subordinates were all dead, but Wang Sheng and the female owner were actually still alive. This was really too unbelievable. Uncle Lu was even at Fei Hu's level of cultivation. In addition to his subordinates, it was impossible for him to let Wang Sheng and Miss live. Therefore, there must be something that they could not imagine. "You won't believe it." The female owner was stunned. Just as she was about to reply, she suddenly laughed bitterly. Before she spoke, she suddenly remembered that she had told Uncle Lu and the others that Wang Sheng had brought her across the fire vein to escape the pursuit of Fei Hu and the experts of the Song family. Would anyone believe such a thing? Not to mention Uncle Lu and the others, even the female owner herself. If she had not experienced it herself, she would definitely think that the person was lying. Especially later on, when Wang Sheng reached out his hand and passed through the formation without doing anything. Such a fantasy. Would anyone believe it if she told them about it? In the end, the female owner could only say that Wang Sheng had used a little trick with her to escape the attacks of Fei Hu and the experts of the Song family. They only turned around after they left. This could be considered as giving Uncle Lu and the others an explanation. This is not the place to talk. Let's wait until we are at a safe place. Wang Sheng took over and attracted everyone's attention. Let's go, it's not safe here. In the land of Thousand Despair, Wang Sheng had the absolute authority. No one had any objections, especially when they saw that the female owner was so obedient to Wang Sheng. Uncle Lu and the other shopkeepers secretly exchanged glances. In their hearts, they were sure that something else must have happened during this period. Chapter 420. As for the young Miss and Wang Sheng's intimate relationship, these shopkeepers were actually happy to see it happen. With the current situation, Baoqing Yutang would definitely not tolerate them. The world was so big, and there were not many places for them to go. Especially if they wanted to resume their old business and make a comeback. With just them and their Miss, it would not be enough. If they had obtained the elixirs and a large number of elixir formulas this time, it would be fine, but the elixirs had obviously been lost, and the elixir formulas might not be reliable. So they needed a safe backer to ensure their safety in the future. This backer not only had to be strong enough, but also had to have a lot of capital to support them to withstand the suppression of Baoqing Yutang. To be honest, there were not many people in this world who met this condition. The royal family and the various feudal lords could definitely do it, but once they relied on any of them, it would no longer be a pure business family. It would have political overtones, which would be detrimental to future development. The Lord of Worryless City was one, relatively independent, and had little political overtones. But if they relied on the Lord of Worryless City, it was hard to say whether Marquis Wuyo would allow the female owner to come out again. And Baoqing Yutang would definitely find ways to obstruct them. How could the female owner and the shopkeepers get the support of Marquis Wuyo? Marquis LV Wenho of the Imperial Treasury was one, but the Imperial Treasury itself was a business. If they relied on Marquis LV Wenho, they could only merge into the Imperial Treasury. Marquis LV Wenho would never allow them to become competitors again. At this time, the sudden appearance of Wang Sheng suddenly made everyone feel that it was unusually suitable. First of all, Wang Sheng was alone and did not have much power, so they needed to help Wang Sheng expand his power. Second, Wang Sheng was rich, really rich. although it was not comparable to the scale of the huge family business like Baoqing Yutang and the Imperial Treasury. It was no problem to support their startup funds. The most important thing was that Wang Sheng had all kinds of money-making ideas in his mind, which could definitely support a brand-new business family. Uncle Liu and the others all knew that the sugar frosting and refined salt were obtained from Wang Sheng. Even without these, Wang Sheng had an absolute advantage in 1,000 to spare. This was a huge resource in itself. If the female owner could cooperate with Wang Sheng to develop the 1,000 to spare, then the scale would definitely surpass the camp of the Imperial Treasury. Wang Sheng and the female owner did not know what Uncle Liu and the others were thinking. They were rushing in the direction of the Imperial Treasury's camp. The safest place in the grounds of 1,000 devastations was definitely that place. There were more than 10 shopkeepers and 11 guards. Apart from one who had been with the shopkeepers at the start, the other 10 had secretly followed behind the group. Only when Uncle Liu and the others were safe did they send a signal to meet up with them. However, 4 of the guards were injured and had to be carried by others. The people in the team basically had no disloyalty. Wang Sheng took everyone and walked very fast. It took them a few days to finally rush back to the Imperial Treasury's camp. This time, the treatment of the team was significantly improved. Wang Sheng even gave up his own room to the female owner. Of course, Wang Sheng still lived in the old Taoist room. These 2 rooms had been kept by the Imperial Treasury for them and had no intention of sending them out. Uncle Liu and the other shopkeepers and guards lived in the public area of the Imperial Treasury in the valley. It was not a single room, but it was already very good to have a place to live in the 1,000 to spare. At this point, the team led by the female owner was completely safe. After a day of rest, the female owner told the story of the encounter of the Baoqing Yu Tang team in the public area of the valley. This was what Uncle Liu and the others had discussed. After all, the team of Baoqing Yu Tang, except for the female owner and them, was completely annihilated. If they went out quietly, Baoqing Yu Tang would give Wang Sheng a reputation of murdering for money, which was not good for Wang Sheng. Therefore, the best way was to expose all the inside story before Baoqing Yu Tang reacted, including the Song family. In this way, the safety of the female owner and Wang Sheng could be protected to the greatest extent. Of course, this was announced after the female owner asked for Wang Sheng's opinion. Wang Sheng deliberately asked the female owner to hide the part about his cultivation of the Xing character formula and only announced the first part. In the public area, there were masters of various families who would rest, eat, drink, and even have a drink after cultivation. There was always an endless stream of people. The female owner deliberately chose a time when there were the most people to talk about her experience, which naturally attracted the attention of many people. When they heard that Wang Sheng led everyone to the water vein, a group of people did not believe that they were slapped in the face by the truth. Many people listened with great interest. This was a very attractive story, not to mention that the person involved was Wang Sheng. Since it happened in the land of 1,000 to spare, naturally more and more people paid attention to it. When someone heard Flying Fox and the others questioning Wang Sheng, he sneered and scolded them, "A bunch of fools." Flying Fox and the others were slapped in the face by Wang Sheng's rules. Later, Wang Sheng led them in the wrong direction and only returned to the right direction after knowing the real destination. When they found the main door of the underground palace, there were already more than 200 people listening around the female owner. The scene in the underground palace was the most touching. Flying Fox suddenly turned against them and attacked them. Wang Sheng carried the female owner and ran across the earth fire vein. This shocked the group of experts, and the shopkeepers even exclaimed that it was impossible. What was surprising was that the shopkeepers felt that it was unbelievable, but none of the masters around them had any objections. This made Uncle Liu and the others feel that it was unbelievable. One of the masters happened to be familiar with one of the shopkeepers. The shopkeeper was curious and asked why they did not feel that it was real. What happened to Lone Wolf, no matter how unbelievable it is not surprising. The master was obviously very familiar with Wang Sheng's past deeds. He gave the shopkeeper such an answer. This is the land of 1,000 to spare. This answer was completely incomprehensible to the group of shopkeepers. It was only at this moment that they truly understood how much authority Wang Sheng had in the land of Thousand Despair. Everyone was almost blindly following Wang Sheng's orders in the land of Thousand Despair. The masters of the Song clan appeared, killed everyone, and snatched the elixir. The rest of the show was basically uneventful. Just like that, the whole process was completely spread out. What are your plans for the future? Wang Sheng and the female owner, Uncle Lu, sat together to discuss the future. Wang Sheng had to accompany the female owner to obtain the formation map that he needed. It was also a good opportunity for him to understand the plans of the female owner and the others. I don't know. The female owner was a little depressed. In fact, they were already at a dead end. If you don't have a place to stay at my place for a while. Wang Sheng suddenly thought of an idea and took the initiative to speak up. Chapter 4:21. The place that Wang Sheng mentioned was the marquee mansion that the emperor had bestowed upon him. Obviously, the female owner and Uncle Lu had misunderstood and thought that it was Wang Sheng's small courtyard in Carefree City. That place of yours can't accommodate 2 more people. We have more than 20 people here. The female owner was stunned. She didn't expect Wang Sheng to say that. But when she thought of his small courtyard, she immediately rejected him. Can you still return to Baoqing Yutang? Wang Sheng raised his head and asked. Actually, Wang Sheng didn't need to ask to know the answer. The female owner and Uncle Lu shook their heads in unison. It wasn't easy for the female owner to escape from Baoqing Yutang's control. How could she fall into his trap again? If they really went back, the new owner would definitely not give them another chance. Even if they had to bear the reputation of being intolerant, they would be killed. Have you thought about what you want to do? Wang Sheng asked again. Actually, this sentence was nonsense. No. The female owner originally wanted to obtain the elixir formula this time and use these resources to operate. But now, the elixir was snatched away by the Song family's experts, and the elixir formula was in Wang Sheng's hands. Speaking of the process of discovering the elixir formula, the female owner didn't think that she had the right to ask Wang Sheng to give it to her. Hence, she was still confused about the future. Then come with me to my place. Rest for a while and think about what you want to do. Wang Sheng suggested to the female owner again. The female owner looked at Uncle Lu, and Uncle Lu nodded at her slowly. Since Wang Sheng had invited them twice, Uncle Lu and the rest were naturally happy to see their mistress and Wang Sheng deepen their relationship. It didn't matter if Wang Sheng's courtyard in Carefree City was small. They could find another place to stay. As long as the mistress and Wang Sheng could get closer, it would be worth it to rope in Wang Sheng. All right, I don't have anywhere to go anyway. It's safer with you. The female owner nodded and agreed. The reason why Wang Sheng wanted to invite the female host to the Marquis's mansion in the capital was also for his own selfish reasons. The longer Wang Sheng lived in this world, the more he understood the benefits of having a powerful corporation behind him. On Earth, Wang Sheng had the backing of an entire country, so of course, he was not afraid of anything. But after coming to this world, Wang Sheng spent most of his time living the life of a lone traveler. Even his nickname was Lone Wolf. It was only after he came to Worry-Free City that he could truly rely on a big tree. However, the Carefree City could only guarantee Wang Sheng's safety within the city. Once he left the city, there would be no other guarantee. There was a time when he was the son-in-law of the Song family, but now he only existed in name. Wang Sheng could rely on the Carefree City, the royal family, or any of the vassal states. It was good to rely on a big tree for shade, but no matter how good a big tree was, how could it be better than being a big tree himself? What's more, Wang Sheng's ultimate goal was the girl in his dream. If the girl in his dream was still alive, she would have been the public enemy of the world 500 years ago. Now, some things had to be prepared. The current situation of the female owner was at her lowest point. Wang Sheng could give her enough help to rebuild a business empire. But the premise was that the female owner was biased towards him. This premise was very difficult, but Wang Sheng had to give it a try. If it really didn't work out, he could only cooperate with the imperial treasury. Going to the capital would expose some of the transactions or relationships between Wang Sheng and the emperor. It depended on whether the female owner would value him more because of this, or if she would alienate him and stay away for politics. Who knew? Settling the female owner was one of the purposes. The main purpose was to find the old Taoist Ling Su. Wang Sheng had already understood the use of the Xing formula. After familiarizing himself with it for a while, he would be able to advance again. Wang Sheng didn't want to still be in the carefree city when he advanced. The Laojun Temple was a good place. It was just right. To be honest, Wang Sheng was quite tempted by the Laojun Temple. In the entire Laojun Temple, excluding the old Taoist, the number of top masters was definitely not less than any vassal state. At this moment, the Laojun Temple's attitude towards Wang Sheng was very friendly. Wang Sheng hoped that the Laojun Temple would be his last retreat. As a senior sniper, he had to consider all the details when he went out on a mission. How to retreat if successful, how to retreat if failed, infiltration plan, retreat plan, backup plan, and so on. Wang Sheng could fight on all kinds of complicated battlefields for more than 10 years because of this cautiousness. Following the new road that led to the carefree city from the camp, Wang Sheng and the female owner and the rest moved forward. When they were about 10 miles away from the carefree city, seeing that there was no one around, Wang Sheng led the group away from the road and into the forest. No one was worried about following Wang Sheng in the land of thousand devastations. However, they were about to reach their destination. Why did Wang Sheng suddenly change the route? The female owner didn't hold back and asked directly. "We're not going to the carefree city." Wang Sheng gave the group the answer directly. As for where they were going, Wang Sheng didn't say, and no one asked. Obviously, this was Wang Sheng's own secret. Anyway, they would find out when they reached the destination. There was no need to ask now. After making a detour, Wang Sheng led the group away from the edge of the land of thousand devastations, which was dozens of miles away from the carefree city, and went straight to the main road. Uncle Lu and a few other shopkeepers took turns to buy a few large carriages and horses from the towns they passed by. With the few guards taking turns to drive the carriages, they went straight to the capital city along the official road. When they first heard that Wang Sheng's destination was the capital city, the female owner and Uncle Lu were very surprised. Could it be that Wang Sheng was related to the emperor? However, they were smart enough not to ask. If Wang Sheng wanted to say something, he would tell them eventually. "I made a deal with the royal family. The emperor, the current emperor, gave me a share of benefits." Wang Sheng knew that hiding the truth was not a good thing for the cooperation between the two sides. Therefore, he gave a simple explanation of his relationship with the royal family. He pointed to his head and smiled. "You guys know that I always have some unusual ideas." The female owner and Uncle Lu agreed with this point. Any one of the ideas in Wang Sheng's mind was worth at least hundreds of thousands of gold coins. It was the same for the snow candy, refined salt, and it was said that the Imperial Treasury's new snake medicine was also the same. As for the fact that any random shop in the carefree city was waiting for Wang Sheng to go in and make custom orders, that was not even worth mentioning. It was normal for the royal family to make a deal with Wang Sheng. This showed that the royal family had become smarter this time. They knew who they should cooperate with. "What did the emperor give you?" The female owner became interested on the way and began to get to the bottom of it. Mainly, she was curious. The emperor's reward should be different from the cooperation between ordinary families, right? "And a big house." Wang Sheng replied with a smile. "A house big enough to fit all of you." "Oh yes, when we arrive, Uncle Lu and the rest will have to work hard. Help me calculate the value of the things the emperor gave me." Chapter 422. Uncle Lu and the rest agreed with a smile. Along the way, they seemed to be laughing and joking. Everyone was actually dying of curiosity, but no one asked what deal Wang Sheng had made with the royal family. Unless Wang Sheng was willing to reveal it, or the royal family took the initiative to reveal it. With their current awkward status, taking the initiative to inquire about the royal family's secrets was simply courting death. They walked on the official road, and most of them had changed their appearances, so not many people noticed them on the way. Within a few days, everyone arrived at the boundary of the capital. When they arrived at the capital, Wang Sheng did not directly bring everyone to the Marquis's residence. Instead, he first found an inn to settle everyone down. In the capital, other than the masters of the Pavilion of Delicacy, Wang Sheng only had a few acquaintances in the Laojun Temple in the suburbs of the capital. Overall, it could be said that he was unfamiliar with the people and the place in the capital. Wang Sheng did not know whether the golden token given to him by the old eunuch was useful, so it was better to be cautious and not bring everyone there directly. It was not that Wang Sheng was pretending to be careful, but when making a deal with the royal family, he could not trust the other party's promises like ordinary commercial organizations. Not to mention other things, the thousands of years of feudal history on Earth had already taught Wang Sheng many lessons. The old eunuch had given the address of the Marquis's residence to Wang Sheng. This was the first time Wang Sheng visited, so he only brought the female host. They looked for a place to stay while enjoying the scenery. After strolling for an entire morning, they finally found the place. It had to be said that the royal family was really generous. In the capital, where every inch of land was worth its weight in gold, a Marquis's residence was built domineeringly. With a radius of 100 mu, it was considered second to none other than the imperial city. The environment was very quiet, and it was surrounded by towering ancient trees that cast mottled shadows. There weren't the rising and falling cries of peddlers, nor was there an endless stream of carriages and horses. It could absolutely be said to be a superb place to seek tranquility amidst the noise. He did not know how it was inside, but Wang Sheng looked very satisfied with the outside. They walked around the tall walls that were full of historical traces and slowly walked to the main entrance. From afar, they saw 4 gatekeepers standing at the entrance like javelins. On the entire street, there was only one mansion that was almost the same size as the one on the opposite side. There were no other houses. No wonder no one passed by. This was not a place for ordinary people. Stop! Before Wang Sheng and the female owner could even reach the entrance of the Marquis's residence, someone had already shouted, "Unauthorized people, do not come near." This close distance was enough for the two of them to see many things clearly. Although it was called the Marquis Manor, there was no signboard or signboard. It was probably waiting for Wang Sheng's order. If Wang Sheng was willing to make it public, then they would publicly admit that this was the Marquis Manor. Otherwise, it would just be a noble's manor without a nameplate. Wang Sheng ignored the scolding and went straight forward. Seeing that Wang Sheng was not listening to them, 2 of the 4 gatekeepers came forward with their hands on the hilts of their swords. It seemed that if Wang Sheng went any further, they would attack. Someone told me that as long as I hold this, I can take over this mansion. Wang Sheng did not waste any time. With a wave of his hand, the golden token that the old eunuch had given him appeared. He flashed it at the 2 gatekeepers. As expected, the 2 gatekeepers stopped in their tracks. They looked at the golden token and then at each other. They turned their heads and looked at the other 2 gatekeepers. One of them, who seemed to be the leader, hurriedly trotted forward. After carefully looking at Wang Sheng's golden token, he bowed to Wang Sheng and said, "Esteemed guest, please wait for a moment. Let me report this." With that, he hurriedly trotted back into the mansion. After a while, an old man holding a horsetail whisk, who seemed to be the manager of the inner mansion, hurriedly ran out. He looked around at the door and saw the figures of Wang Sheng and the female owner. "Esteemed guest, please forgive me for being rude. Please examine the golden token for me." Facing Wang Sheng, the old steward, who looked like a eunuch, bowed to Wang Sheng and pleaded with Wang Sheng in a unique high-pitched voice. Wang Sheng did not feel that there was anything wrong with it. If it were him, he would also take a look and examine it. Without worrying about him, he handed the golden token to the old steward, who had already stretched out his hands to take it. "Esteemed guest, please wait." The old steward held the golden token with both hands and trotted to the door. Then, he handed the golden token to a young eunuch inside the door. He stood at the door and waited. Not only Wang Sheng, but even the female owner did not feel that there was anything wrong. However, when the 2 of them stood there and waited for 20 minutes, there was still no movement. The two of them realized that something was wrong. Snipers did not lack patience. Seeing that the old steward was still standing at the door, Wang Sheng did not think of the worst. He just comforted the female owner and continued to wait. After waiting for another 20 minutes, there was still no movement. The old steward did not speak nor move. He just stood there. The four gatekeepers beside him had already returned to their original positions. They stood like four javelins, and they did not even look at Wang Sheng and the female owner. After an hour, Wang Sheng seemed to have understood something. He let out a long sigh and walked forward. The gatekeepers did not stop him this time. They let Wang Sheng walk directly to the old steward at the door. "If it is inconvenient, return the golden token to me. I will leave first," Wang Sheng said politely to the old steward. Golden token? The old eunuch was originally looking down at the position in front of his feet. When he heard Wang Sheng's words, he did not even raise his head. He only raised his eyelids and asked in confusion, "What golden token?" This time, even if Wang Sheng was a fool, he knew that he had been fooled. There was really nothing good in cooperating with the royal family. They did not even acknowledge the promised reward and insisted on it. Understood. Wang Sheng smiled at the other party and did not say anything more. "Then please return the item to the owner." After that, he turned around and left. The female owner also heard the conversation between the two of them. Looking at the scene that happened in front of her eyes, she could not help but be stunned and gasp in amazement, as she was a businesswoman who valued integrity more than the heavens. So, some things could be done this way. She was indeed still too inexperienced. Wang Sheng gestured to the female owner. The two of them did not say much and walked straight back the way they came. "Someone asked me to bring you a message." The two of them had only walked a few steps when the old steward's gloomy voice suddenly came from behind them. "There are some things that you are not qualified to touch. Since you are so understanding, then I will let you go. Leave Capital City as soon as possible. Otherwise, no one can guarantee your safety." Chapter 423. Watching as Wang Sheng and his wife walked away and out of sight, the old steward who had been submissive just now raised his head and let out a long sigh. He pushed open the door and walked into the mansion. He hurriedly passed through the front hall and the front yard and went straight to the middle hall. Inside the middle hall, there were 5 young people sitting and chatting. In the middle of the main seat, there was a young man wearing a bright yellow robe in high spirits. He was holding Wang Sheng's gold medal and playing with it while accepting the compliments of the 4 young men in embroidered robes around him. "Your Highness, he has left." The old steward entered the door and bowed to the young man on the main seat. From the way he addressed him, the young man on the main seat seemed to be a prince. Did he say anything? Everyone stopped talking. Her Highness looked up and asked, "Did he make a fuss at the door?" He said to return the thing to the owner and didn't say anything else. The old steward reported truthfully. He didn't make a fuss and left after saying that. "Oof." Her Highness coldly snorted and showed a look of disdain. "At least he knows his place. A country bumpkin who came from who knows where dares to covet the position of marquis." A young man next to him immediately teased. "He really doesn't know the immensity of heaven and earth. In my opinion, His Highness is too benevolent and benevolent." Another young man in embroidered robes did not want to be outdone and followed up with flattery. This kind of arrogant person should be taken down on the spot and then sent to the border. Her Highness is a generous person. Naturally, she wouldn't do such a ruthless thing. The third person immediately argued, "Since that country bumpkin knows his place, then let him live. This will also show that Her Highness is magnanimous." Her Highness, who was sitting in the main seat, listened to the compliments of the people around her and showed a smile of enjoyment. Just as they said, a country bumpkin who came from who knows where was worth Father Emperor spending so much money to rope in. Only taking back his gold medal and the Marquis's mansion, sparing his life, was already a great kindness. How dare he complain? After all, it's the Emperor's edict. If the Emperor were to find out about our actions, it would be bad. Among the few of them, there were still some intelligent people who spoke out worriedly. A few months ago, This seventh highness was extremely dissatisfied with the emperor's inexplicable reward of an assassin from Carefree City. In particular, the mansion that the seventh royal highness had taken a liking to was actually given to the so-called Chongqing Marquis by the emperor. This made the seventh royal highness even more unhappy. In the beginning, the seventh highness was still able to endure it. But after 2 months, he discovered that no one had taken over the Marquis's mansion and that it was just left empty. The seventh highness began to think. First, he relied on his identity as a prince to forcibly live in this mansion. With his status as a prince, which steward or servant in the mansion dare to say no? The property that the emperor bestowed upon Wang Sheng naturally became the seventh prince's private property. From time to time, the seventh highness would bring a few of his subordinates to drink wine and admire the flowers. Sometimes, when the seventh highness was excited, he would even visit a few beauties. The mansion that did not have a signboard was also in line with the requirements of secrecy. In these few months, there were actually no rumors about this in the capital. This made the seventh highness and his subordinates feel that this was how it should be, and they became more and more unscrupulous. Today, when Wang Sheng came to visit, it just so happened that the seventh highness and his subordinates were having fun. Thus, the old steward took the opportunity to examine the gold medal and received it into the hands of the seventh highness, while Wang Sheng had no choice but to dejectedly retreat. The 4 subordinates of the seventh highness were also the sons of 4 important officials in the imperial court. 2 of them were even important officials in charge of drafting the edict, so they knew that the emperor's reward was real. It was just that, including the seventh highness, no one cared about the country bumpkin Wang Sheng. Even if Wang Sheng was unwilling, what could he do? Could he defeat a few imperial guards? Or could he break through all the obstacles and appear in front of the emperor to complain? You're leaving just like that? After turning the corner and making sure that the people behind them could no longer see them, the female host asked Wang Sheng, "What else can I do if I don't leave?" There was no sadness or happiness on Wang Sheng's face. He was very calm, as if everything that had just happened did not happen to him. "Can I cry at the entrance of the mansion? Or can I fight with the experts inside?" The female owner also became silent. Indeed, if something like this happened to her, what could she do? The owner of Baoqing Yutang openly let his own son take over her position and almost put her to death. But now, wasn't she also helpless? No wonder you said that you must be careful when doing business with the royal family. At this moment, the female owner really understood what Wang Sheng had said before. So there really are people who turn their backs on others. If this kind of person was in the business world, he would have lost his pants long ago. That's not necessarily true. Wang Sheng shook his head slightly in his heart as he thought of the unscrupulous businessmen on Earth. Compared to them, the businessmen in this world were all businessmen with a conscience. Even LV Wenho, whom Wang Sheng had always thought was an unscrupulous businessman, was a man of his word. The cooperation between the two only needed to be verbally agreed and did not even need to sign a contract. Compared to them, Wang Sheng preferred the cute businessmen in this world. What will happen if the words of the emperor don't count? The female owner asked with some emotion. The emperor pays attention to the words of the emperor. Wang Sheng replied with a smile. If the words of the emperor don't count, then his title as the emperor will come to an end. Actually, being the emperor is much harder than doing business. Unfortunately, they don't seem to understand this. You really intend to let it go just like that? The 2 of them slowly walked away, and the female owner's voice came slowly. Of course, Wang Sheng did not seem to feel that he had been cheated, and there was nothing to feel aggrieved about. His tone was resolute. According to the rumors, you don't seem to be such a submissive person. That's because the rumors are wrong. You're so easy to talk to. If I had known earlier, I would not have paid you back then. I have no choice if you don't pay me. You have so many experts around you. Do you think I can force you to pay me? Where's the last person who played you like this? Who knows? His bones must have been rotten. The 2 of them were getting further and further away, and their voices were also getting further and further away. Just opposite the direction where the 2 of them disappeared, in a mansion opposite the Ho's mansion, a man in servant's clothes was leaning against the wall and sleeping soundly. Wang Sheng and the female owner did not hide their conversation from others. In fact, there was no one in the surroundings. No one knew that behind the wall next door, there was a man sleeping with his eyes closed. His face was smiling as if he had just had a sweet dream. When the two of them completely disappeared, the man who was lying down jumped up and ran away as if he was flying. Chapter 424. Wang Sheng and the female owner returned to the inn where Uncle Lu and the rest were hiding. When talking about the experience, the female owner couldn't help but want to provoke Wang Sheng. She described it vividly, as if it had happened in front of everyone. Even the tone and expression of the old supervisor who asked Wang Sheng what gold medal was imitated perfectly. Uncle Lu and the rest were not surprised that Wang Sheng did not get anything out of the deal with the royal family. After laughing for a long time, they patted Wang Sheng's shoulder and drank with him. It's business. Who hasn't done a few unprofitable deals, right? Uncle Lu used the words of a businessman to convince Wang Sheng. This time, you've seen their true colors and methods. Next time, you won't do business with them, right? If there's a chance in the future, if you can trick him, then do it. If you can trick him to death, then do it. There's still a long way to go. Yes, if you can trick him to death, then do it. Wang Sheng smiled and drank with the other shopkeepers. There was nothing strange on his face, as if this matter didn't affect him at all. Even someone as experienced as Uncle Lu was full of praise for Wang Sheng's ability to keep a straight face no matter what happened. His young mistress was still lacking something. She was not mature enough. Of course, after this incident, it also fully showed that Wang Sheng's advantage was only limited to the land of Thousand Despair. In this way, the cooperation between the two parties might be more inclined to the female owner, Uncle Lu, and this was good news for Uncle Lu. While Wang Sheng and the others were drinking, the servant who had been eavesdropping on Wang Sheng and the female owner's conversation had already arrived at a small courtyard in a certain square in the capital. After hurriedly reporting the situation, he quickly left. The person who received the news did not dare to delay and quickly reported to his superior. After a few twists and turns, the news was gathered in a corner of the palace. There were a lot of similar news every day. At first, the little eunuch who was in charge of sorting out the news did not pay attention to it. However, when a little steward saw the words Ho Fu, he had an idea and took out the news. After taking a closer look, the steward suddenly shivered. He rolled up the news and personally ran all the way to the room of a big steward in the palace. The big steward also reported it to the higher levels. Finally, the news was sent to the hands of old Li, who went in and out of the land of Thousand Despair with Wang Sheng. After coming out of the land of Thousand Despair and bringing back the idea of the emperor's feudal vassals, Old Li became the emperor's absolute trust. His status was unprecedented. If Wang Sheng were to describe it, it would be the current eunuch Li's position in the imperial palace. In the history of the Ming dynasty on Earth, the eunuch in charge of seals and the eunuch with the brush added together, as well as the commander of the imperial stables. Old man Li only took a glance at the report, and his expression changed drastically. A violent rage erupted from his body. Men, send the royal guards to surround the Marquis's mansion. Don't let a single person leave. After the anger, there was a storm of orders. No matter who was inside, detain His Royal Highness as well. Someone had already agreed and quickly went to arrange it. This was the order of the emperor's close officials, who dared to disobey. After sending someone over, Old Li immediately sought an audience with the emperor and passed on the information he received. The emperor summoned Old Li to the imperial study. There were only the two of them in the huge imperial study. How many people know about this? After the emperor saw it, he did not change his expression. He just asked Old Li, "Can you seal the news? I can control it. I have already sent people to control the Ho Fu. I'm afraid there will be some problems with Changxing Ho." Old Li thought for a moment and answered honestly, "You can't do it yourself?" The emperor asked with some surprise. In his impression, there was no trouble that Old Li couldn't solve. If it is in the land of Thousand Despair, Changsheng Ho can go wherever he wants. No one can stop him. Old Li knew that his judgment was very important to the emperor, so he answered very cautiously. But in the capital, Changsheng Ho has about a 50-50 chance. I have known him for so long, but I have never seen through him. So, the news can't be sealed? The emperor was too lazy to guess what the 50-50 chance would be. He just asked for the most direct result. The capital might not be able to seal it. Old Li quickly replied. In addition, the shadow and carefree city will definitely know. Once the capital takes action, the shadow will probably release the news to protect himself. What if the news is leaked? The emperor sighed and asked unwillingly. Since Changsheng Ho is just saying it, then Duke Song and the other marquises will probably think that your majesty is just saying it. This was why Old Li was angry. He was extremely loyal to the emperor. Anything that harmed the emperor's interests was his greatest enemy. If I break my promise to the world just because I can't bear to part with a marquis's residence, then all the previous arrangements, such as the enfeoffment of the feudal vassals, will instantly become a bubble. How could the emperor not know this? He just didn't want to say it himself. He wanted to hear it from Old Li. Yes, just a mere marquis's residence is enough to make the whole world laugh at me. A bitter smile appeared on the emperor's face. He sighed and said, Shao Qi, oh Shao Qi, you are really my good son. Looking down at the information sent by Old Li, the emperor's face had already become abnormally angry. There are 4 sons of important ministers. Good, very good. They occupied the marquis's residence for a few months. It's fine if they were careful and no one knew about it. But when the real owner came to visit, they even dared to cheat away the gold medal that I gave them. The gold medal that I gave them is just a plaything in their eyes. The emperor continued to say, Good, my good son. I have repeatedly told you not to tell anyone about Changsheng Ho, but the sons of my 4 important ministers all know about it. Old Li, tell me in their eyes, are my words really just empty words? Old Eunuch Li didn't respond to this. Smart people wouldn't express their attitude on this kind of matter, especially when it involved a prince. Everything depended on the emperor's own discretion. After pondering for a while, the emperor suddenly asked, If Changsheng Ho alienates the court, what will the result be? The royal family will be completely expelled from the land of Thousand Despair. Old Eunuch Li said without thinking. Everything inside has nothing to do with the royal family. The land of Thousand Despair was too important. Even the emperor couldn't make up his mind to give up the benefits. Shao Qi is so arrogant and despotic, but he can't see the situation clearly. He even treats my gold medal as a plaything. I'm afraid he doesn't put me in his eyes anymore. The emperor suddenly talked about his son. Even if I don't have this son, I will let the whole world know that my words are golden. Don't take what I said as a joke. Chapter 425. By the way, everyone else calls him a country bumpkin. Only you call him Changsheng Ho. Why is that? The emperor seemed to have suddenly thought of a question and asked casually. Because your majesty conferred him the title of Changsheng Ho. Then he is Changsheng Ho. Old Eunuch Li maintained his original standing posture and replied respectfully, This servant is not looking at him, but the decree of your majesty. I conferred him the title of Changsheng Ho. Then he is Changsheng Ho. The emperor suddenly laughed out loud. After laughing for a while, he stopped and said with emotion, Of course, I conferred him the title of Changsheng Ho. Then he is Changsheng Ho. Even if he is a country bumpkin, he is still Changsheng Ho. Old Li, after lamenting, the emperor stood up and walked to Old Eunuch Li's side. He patted him on the shoulder. It seems that in this capital city, only you treat my words as an imperial decree. You are very good, very good. Old Eunuch Li's face suddenly showed an expression of a gentleman dying for his bosom friend. He cooperated with the emperor's action and slightly lowered his shoulder so that the emperor didn't have to use too much effort to pat him. In terms of loyalty, whether it was those ministers or his own sons, they were all inferior to the eunuchs who surrounded the emperor. This servant has already sent people to surround Changsheng Ho's residence. No one inside is allowed to escape. After the emperor finished lamenting, old eunuch Li reported again. Your Majesty, please make a decision. Well done. The emperor praised again. He walked back and forth in the imperial study room twice, and then gritted his teeth and ordered, send people to monitor the other 4 houses. Don't let anyone escape. Yes, your Majesty, old eunuch Li replied loudly. Have you found the place where Changsheng Ho is staying? The emperor then asked another question. It is in an inn in Yongchang City, not far from the city gate. Old eunuch Li already knew this and immediately answered. Even if you know where he is, you still can't control him? The emperor frowned and asked again with a dissatisfied tone. This servant and Changsheng Ho have been together for a few months, but I still can't see through him. Old eunuch Li was not the least bit dissatisfied with the emperor's questioning. He quickly explained, this servant has a feeling that once we make a move, the best result would be mutual destruction. If you can't do it alone, can't you bring a few experts? Tianzi still frowned. It doesn't matter how many people we bring, old eunuch Li replied without batting an eyelid. He definitely has a way to drag everyone down with him, or even, at this point, eunuch Li hesitated for a moment. The emperor hurriedly asked, even what? It is even possible that he will drag the entire imperial city down with him. Old eunuch Li stated his judgment, and then lowered his head. The emperor had always trusted eunuch Li's judgment. Since he said so, then Wang Sheng must have a way to drag the entire imperial city down with him. However, what method could be so powerful? If only this thing was in his hands. Do you know any way? Tianzi was tempted and eagerly asked. I don't know. Old eunuch Li shook his head. He only had the feeling of danger, but he didn't know what the danger was. From Wang Sheng's body, he once felt a terrifying premonition of danger. This kind of person, it was best not to provoke him. Get dressed. I will personally meet this Changsheng Ho. To be able to make his #1 confidant to this extent, and this person had already come to the capital, the emperor's curiosity was more lush than the weeds in spring. If he didn't meet this person, he would really be unwilling. Your Majesty's safety, old eunuch Li vaguely mentioned. The emperor was determined and must meet him. Go meet him. If I don't meet such a person, it would be a pity. Old eunuch Li had one good point. As long as the emperor wanted to do something, he would use appropriate words to remind the emperor. But once the emperor was determined to do it, then old eunuch Li would help the emperor achieve it at all costs. Soon, the emperor turned into a dignified but relatively ordinary businessman. With a few attendants, he went straight to the Come-Again Inn, where Wang Sheng and the female owner were staying. It was just after dinner time. The female owner was wearing a veil and didn't eat with Wang Sheng and the others. On the contrary, Uncle Lu deliberately accompanied Wang Sheng to drink a few cups of wine in the inn's lobby and comforted him. When the two were drinking, 2 people came in from outside the door. It was obvious that one was the master and the other was the servant. They also ordered food and wine on the other table and slowly ate and drank. Wang Sheng and Uncle Lu had drunk quite a lot. Wang Sheng was young and had a high cultivation base. Thus, he was able to hold on. However, Uncle Lu was completely drunk. His mouth was full of drunken words as he was helped away by another manager. Only Wang Sheng was left. When he was about to go back to his room to rest, the master of the 2 who just came in walked over with a pot of wine and a dish. Little brother, you don't mind chatting with me, right? The middle-aged man who came over was not polite at all. He sat down on the seat that Uncle Lu was sitting on and seemed to be full of complaints. When we are outside, my servant doesn't even know how to chat. It's so boring. Sure, Wang Sheng's eyes narrowed and said with a smile, it's fate that we met. Cheers. This middle-aged man who came uninvited had a square face and an imposing appearance. With one look, one could tell that he was from a noble family that lived like a prince. Not to mention other things, just looking at his delicate hands, it definitely didn't do much work and didn't even put in much effort to cultivate. The middle-aged man seemed to be familiar with each other. He clinked his cup with Wang Sheng and took the initiative to talk. I heard you guys talking just now. You came here to do business. Did you lose? Wang Sheng nodded with a smile and replied, yes, I've paid for it. Your mentality is good. You're a big businessman. The middle-aged man smiled and gave a thumbs up. Doing business should be like this. Don't be arrogant when you win, and don't be discouraged when you lose. It doesn't matter if you lose this time. Next time, you can earn it back with interest. There's no need to sigh, don't you think so? This guy was really a friendly person. He didn't even announce his name, but he was already talking as if the two of them were already familiar with each other. However, the middle-aged man was really knowledgeable. He could talk about the mountains, rivers, geography, culture, and customs of this world. He could even talk about some of the products of various places. As for where to do business, he was even more clear about which dock to visit. With one look, one could tell that he was a knowledgeable guy. Wang Sheng was not weak either. Although Wang Sheng was still not very familiar with some things in this world, he had the knowledge of the entire earth behind him. His answers were appropriate and natural. Everyone's eyes almost popped out of their sockets. There were rarely any topics that he could not continue. As the two of them chatted, the middle-aged man suddenly asked, "Say, if you offend a giant like Bao Qingyu in the business world, how should you deal with it?" Chapter 426. It's simple, Wang Sheng answered without thinking. However, when the middle-aged man was waiting for the answer, Wang Sheng stopped and looked at him with a smile. "It's my fault." The middle-aged man admitted his mistake without another word. He picked up the pot and poured a cup of wine for Wang Sheng, then filled his own cup as well. Raising his cup, he said, "I was being selfish. I shouldn't have concealed it. I punished myself with a cup." With that, he drained the cup in one gulp. Wang Sheng also followed suit and drank a cup. The middle-aged man filled their cups again before saying, "Old bro, I'm sincerely asking for some advice now. It's just that some business is pressing on me, so I have no choice but to do this." After that, he explained, "Don't worry, I'm not someone who just casually asks for advice. It's just that we got along well. Brother, if you have a way, I'll definitely reward you handsomely. Do you know? I lost money this time because someone said something like that." Wang Sheng looked at the middle-aged man with a faint smile and said, "I said I'll definitely thank you. In the end, when I came to ask for a gift, they didn't recognize me." Punk. The middle-aged man slammed his palm heavily on the table, attracting the attention of the surrounding people. Perhaps it was because they saw Wang Sheng's strong physique that they did not say anything. They muttered a few words, and those who wanted to continue, those who wanted to leave, left. "There's such a way to do business?" The middle-aged man said indignantly. "Who would dare to cooperate with him in the future? In my opinion, his business won't last long." "You're right." Wang Sheng took the initiative to raise his glass and clinked with the middle-aged man's. "When I recover, I'll slowly settle this account with them. To be frank, I haven't seen anyone who owes me a debt in this world who can live comfortably for a long time." The middle-aged man's expression didn't change at all. There was a flash of light in his eyes, but it was very short. No one saw it. After Wang Sheng finished speaking, he continued the topic. "Let's talk about Bao Qingyu. Little brother, you should also be able to see that if I want to maintain this luxurious life, I have to maintain my business." The middle-aged man pointed at himself for Wang Sheng to see, not afraid of revealing his wealth. "But Bao Qingyu has been suppressing my business recently. Little brother, do you have any way to help me maintain my current business? As long as it can last for half a year, I will be able to recover." As he spoke, the middle-aged man pushed over 2 storage rings. "Regardless of whether the method succeeds or not, these gold coins are for your drink, little brother." Wang Sheng raised his head and looked at the serious middle-aged man. He smiled and asked, "Then I'll take it seriously?" "Of course, of course." The middle-aged man pushed the 2 storage rings closer to Wang Sheng. Wang Sheng smiled and reached out to take the storage rings without any hesitation before placing them before him. "Bao Qingyu has been playing a lot of tricks recently. Since you want to deal with me, I'll help you," Wang Sheng said without the slightest bit of modesty. Then he immediately asked, "Do you know anyone from the government? The capital is fine. Any feudal lord is fine too." "I do." The middle-aged man immediately nodded and moved closer, waiting for Wang Sheng's brilliant plan. "It'll be easy." Wang Sheng nodded and said casually, "What is Bao Qingyu most profitable business now? You should know, right?" "I know. snow candy, and refined salt. The middle-aged man answered quickly, his eyes shining with eagerness. Join forces with the government and monopolize salt and iron. Wang Sheng pushed out an idea without hesitation. Of course, not only salt and iron, but everything related to the national economy and the people's livelihood should be monopolized. For example, food and snow candy. What do you mean by monopolizing? The middle-aged man looked pensive. He seemed to have grasped a clue but couldn't see the whole picture. He anxiously frowned and pulled at his beard. These things related to the national economy and the people's livelihood must be monopolized by the government. Wang Sheng explained, think about it. Once a war breaks out, salt and grain are in the hands of a single merchant. If he doesn't cooperate, the army won't be able to eat or drink. Wouldn't that be fatal? Yes. The middle-aged man had already thought through many things. His eyes were shining. When there's a famine, the country should provide relief, but the goods are in the hands of the merchants. They hoard them and raise the prices. Wouldn't that be fatal? Wang Xing asked again. Yes. The middle-aged man nodded again. His body was almost trembling. That's why these things can't be privately managed. Wang Sheng continued. These reasons are sufficient, right? Any feudal lord can just issue an order, and the salt, snow candy, grain, weapons, and other businesses will be in the hands of the country. Let's not talk about the profits. How many more officials can be arranged? If a feudal lord does this, the rest of the world will follow suit. If Baoqing Yutang loses so much income, will they still care about suppressing you? Wang Sheng smiled and asked the middle-aged man, Old bro, don't talk about half a year. Even a year or two shouldn't be a problem, right? No problem. Of course not. Although the middle-aged man said so, his heart was in turmoil. On one hand, he had discovered a huge source of income. On the other hand, he had this idea of Wang Sheng. How was this just helping him last half a year? This was clearly cutting off the roots of Baoqing Yutang. For the past few years, Baoqing Yutang's business had been focused on snow candy and salt. His secret business and large quantities of weapons had been completely destroyed by a single sentence from Wang Sheng. Previously, they had heard that Baoqing Yutang's men had offended Wang Sheng. Everyone was waiting to see how Wang Sheng would fight against a colossus like Baoqing Yutang. They were waiting to see a mantis try and stop a chariot and Wang Sheng make a fool of himself. In the end, Wang Sheng didn't even need to move. He just casually came up with an idea. If Baoqing Yutang could recover in 10 or 20 years, they would have to thank their ancestors. This young man in front of them was fine when he didn't make a move. Once he made a move, it would be fatal. How stupid was Baoqing Yutang to become enemies with such a person? Why did the owner of Baoqing Yuhao want to push him to the enemy when others couldn't even win him over to their side? After thinking about Baoqing Yutang and the imperial family, the middle-aged man suddenly smiled bitterly. Wasn't the imperial family's action the same as Baoqing Yutang's? Stupid to the point where it couldn't be any more stupid? Although it wasn't the emperor's intention, it was still his own son who made the move. There was also a group of instigating ministers' children. Those ministers were definitely jealous and felt it was unfair. They felt that they had contributed greatly to the feudal vassals. When they saw the emperor conferring the title of ever-victorious Marquis to Wang Sheng, they were unhappy. That was why they came up with this idea to suppress Wang Sheng. Since they didn't dare to touch the major clans, they could only pick on Wang Sheng, the softest persimmon. A bunch of idiots. Once the vassal states were stabilized, would they miss out on all sorts of rewards? How short-sighted. Thinking of this, the middle-aged man made a gesture under the table. Someone from the table immediately stood up to pay the bill and left the inn. Chapter 427. The salt and iron monopoly that Wang Sheng just mentioned. Would those feudal vassals use it? Even if the emperor used his toes to think, he would still give a definite answer. Was there a need to say how high the profits of these businesses were? Don't look at how the major families didn't say it out loud, but in their hearts, they were drooling over Baoqing Yutang. That was because Baoqing Yutang also had such a huge influence. Although everyone was envious wasn't good for them to stick their heads out. Of course, the crux of the matter was that there was no reasonable excuse. What did Wang Sheng just say? That was the most dignified excuse he could come up with. He could easily come up with such an exquisite idea, but the group of pig-like officials that the emperor raised only knew how to play those dirty tricks in the dark. He should really let all the officials learn from Wang Sheng's upright methods. In the name of national security, no matter how powerful Bao Qin Yutang was, they had to obediently bow their heads. Because it wasn't just one feudal vassal making a move, but all the feudal vassals and the emperor making a move. Would Bao Qin Yutang dare to make the whole world his enemy? As for whether or not the feudal vassals would make a move, it wasn't a problem. Even the emperor himself was drooling over the profits of the salt, snow, and sugar frosting in the capital. How could those feudal vassals endure it? Just like what Wang Sheng said, the profits were too great. How much wealth could they increase? How many officials could they support? Moreover, the national security was in their hands. It would be strange if they didn't make a move. Wiping off the sweat that flowed out of excitement, and maybe even his saliva, the emperor smiled at Wang Sheng. Since I can help you, big bro, I'll gladly accept these gold coins. Wang Sheng waved the 2 storage rings in his hand before putting them away in a dignified manner. While collecting the things, he murmured, I'll make a small profit first. When I settle accounts with Bao Qin Yutang, I'll ask them for the bigger share. The excited sweat suddenly turned into cold sweat. The emperor then realized that Wang Sheng also had a grudge against Bao Qin Yutang. The news from the camp had already spread to the capital. Bao Qin Yutang made a move on Wang Sheng, and the Song clan robbed the elixir. These were no longer a secret. Wang Sheng and Bao Qin Yutang were already enemies. The Song clan had already admitted that they had robbed the elixir. Now, Country Duke Song was the strongest among the feudal vassal states. On the other hand, Bao Qin Yutang hadn't said anything yet. They were probably still thinking about how to salvage. They didn't know that Wang Sheng had dug their graves. The thing that made the emperor sweat the most was that it was Wang Sheng who took revenge for him. Not only did he not make a move, but he also earned a lot of gold coins from this. Everything was done by others, but those who made a move still had to be grateful to Wang Sheng. If this kind of revenge was used on the royal family or the emperor, what would happen? Some questions, if the emperor couldn't get an answer, he would die of grievance. Therefore, the emperor began to think about how to get the information he wanted to know from Wang Sheng. All right, with this idea, I can enjoy 2 or 3 more years. The casually dressed emperor once again raised his glass to Wang Sheng. It's worth a drink. After the 2 of them clinked their glasses again, the emperor drank the wine in his glass and asked casually, Old brother, I still have a problem. Little brother, can you help me out and give me some ideas? All right. Wang Sheng might have drunk too much, so he took on the responsibility. A sheep is also herding, a flock of sheep is also the same. If you have any difficulties, just say it. I will help you solve it. Don't worry. If you think the idea is not good, you don't have to pay. This you also know that my business is a bit big. The emperor lowered his body and whispered as if he was afraid. Recently, I actually have some business with the royal family, but they reneged on the debt. Do you have any way to collect the debt? You're amazing. When Wang Sheng heard this, he directly gave a thumbs up to the emperor. You dare to discuss about the royal family's debt in the capital? You're amazing. This little brother is timid, so I won't participate in this. Goodbye. After that, Wang Sheng was about to get up, but he was pulled back by the emperor. Don't. Little brother, it's just an idea. It's not like you're going to do anything. What are you afraid of? You're rebelling. The emperor took a liking to something from you. That's a favor for you. A great fortune has fallen on your head, and you still dare to collect money? Wang Sheng didn't have the intention to get up, so he sat back down and unceremoniously judged. Even if you want to die, you shouldn't be asking for it like this. Are you afraid? The emperor began to play tricks and began to use the method of provocation. Afraid? As expected, Wang Sheng had the temperament of a young man. Unable to take the provocation, he immediately flew into a rage. This daddy just doesn't want to be hunted down again. To provoke this daddy, Halfway through his sentence, he seemed to have thought of something and suddenly stopped speaking. What will happen if I provoke you? The emperor pretended to be curious and suppressed the excitement in his heart. He still asked as if he was trying to provoke him. Do you know what this is? Wang Sheng turned his hand, and a cylindrical thing with a spring appeared in his hand. He gestured to the emperor and asked if there were soldiers or military enthusiasts on Earth, they would definitely be able to recognize that the thing in Wang Sheng's hand was a smoke bomb. There were 2 smoke bombs in Wang Sheng's equipment box, and now he took one out. I don't know. The emperor honestly shook his head. He really didn't know. This thing is called VS poison gas. Forget it. You won't know even if I tell you. Wang Sheng shook the smoke bomb in his hand and then began to brag. In simple words, this is a poison gas bomb. Inside it is a highly toxic gas. Not only can it corrode the skin, but it can also kill people. Once they heard that the thing in Wang Sheng's hand was actually a poison gas bomb, the emperor's expression was still natural, but the people at the surrounding tables were already nervous. Countless pairs of eyes stared at the smoke bomb in Wang Sheng's hand. In simple words, if I throw this thing, it will explode whether it hits the ground or is hit by someone in the air. Even if I hold it hard, it will also explode. Wang Sheng did not even blush as he exaggerated the effect of the smoke grenade. He directly used it as the deadly gas grenade in charge of Life and Death Island. Bang! Once this thing explodes, within a radius of 2 miles, there will be white smoke. This time, Wang Sheng expanded the scope, but the color was definitely not bragging. Someone calculated that the toxicity inside is enough to kill about 60 to 70 people. That's good. When Emperor heard that it was only 60 to 70 people, he suddenly let out a sigh of relief and relaxed a lot. The unit is 10,000, 600,000 to 700,000. Wang Sheng looked at Emperor like he was looking at a fool, and then asked, what do you think will happen if I throw this thing into the Imperial City? Chapter 428. Tianzi's back was already drenched in sweat. He never thought that Wang Sheng could bring him such a surprise. Although old eunuch Li had said many times before that the best result he could achieve against Wang Sheng was to perish together with him. But now it seemed that it was not as simple as perishing together. The toxicity of this little thing was enough to kill 600,000 people. If it was in the past, no one would believe it. However, ever since Wang Sheng killed Dai Wuji with a small spider from the Thousand Despair Ground, there were people who specifically studied this aspect. The same small spider, the venom extracted by several poison experts, using the measurement unit on Wang Sheng's earth, will be less than a milligram, enough to kill people. If he really made a smoke bomb, it wouldn't be an exaggeration to say that it would kill hundreds of thousands of people. Forcefully suppressing the fear in his heart, Tianzi's face revealed a forced smile. Even if you throw it in the Imperial City, there might not be that many people, right? Moreover, if Tianzi is not in the Imperial City, or if he is not affected, then wouldn't you be useless? Hey, that's simple. Wang Sheng's other hand flipped over and an identical smoke grenade appeared. If it really comes to that, I'll just find a good vantage point and toss out another one. Then, ignoring the result, I'll turn around and run. Looking at the 2 smoke bombs appearing in front of him, and Wang Sheng still didn't care about his image as if he would accidentally drop it, Tianzi's heart almost jumped out. Not to mention the group of guards around him. They couldn't wait to rush up and kill Wang Sheng. However, they just heard that if Wang Sheng squeezed it himself, it would also explode. If they rashly made a move, and Wang Sheng couldn't hold back, then the consequences. Just thinking about it made people feel that it was disgraceful. But, just when everyone was in fear, Wang Sheng suddenly made a turn. Tianzi couldn't help but ask, but what? Say, the son of heaven, and I don't have any enmity. Just for your few gold coins, there's no need to make such a big fuss. Wang Sheng explained in a matter-of-fact manner. In the end, he even asked, don't you think so? Right. Tianzi let out a sigh of relief and nodded in agreement. No need. If he knew that face-to-face with Wang Sheng would be such a test of his courage, Tianzi wouldn't have impulsively come over to talk to Wang Sheng. Now, Wang Sheng hadn't even done anything, but the son of heaven himself had been frightened several times. Luckily, Tianzi's cultivation was quite successful, and his heart wasn't bad. Otherwise, he might have already fainted from heart problems. Seeing the two smoke bombs in Wang Sheng's hands disappear, everyone finally breathed a sigh of relief. At the very least, it would be much safer to store it in a storage ring than to hold it in one's hand. Actually, if it's just to collect the debt, it's not too difficult. It just depends on whether you have the patience. Wang Sheng put away the smoke bomb. While everyone was still heaving a sigh of relief, he spoke to Tianzi again. Tianzi was indeed Tianzi. Although he was scared just now, he quickly adjusted in such a short period of time. Once again, he was immersed in his role and acted like a businessman vividly. I have patience. What should I do? Tianzi once again showed the strength of a movie king. He asked anxiously and excitedly, as if he could already see the scene of his debt being collected. Actually, temporarily solve the pressure of Bao Qin Yutang. You just said that you can hold on for 2 to 3 years. Wang Sheng continued the topic and said, you just wait for 2 to 3 years. How much they owe you? You have to remember it with interest. There's no hurry to collect it. And then? Tianzi was very interested and asked, then what? In these 2 to 3 years, Tianzi will infect several dukes. The other feudal vassals will also rise and fall. Tianzi's prestige will greatly increase. This should be correct, right? Wang Sheng began to analyze the current situation and came to a conclusion in an orderly manner. Tianzi nodded. 2 to 3 years was enough for him and the ministers to operate the influence of Tianzi more and more powerful. Wang Sheng said a fact, and there was no need to deny it. Moreover, Wang Sheng was so optimistic about the royal family, which made Tianzi quite surprised. However, even if Tianzi's prestige greatly increases after 2 to 3 years, after all, it's only prestige. Wang Sheng immediately changed the topic, but in terms of real strength, the royal family is definitely not as good as those feudal vassals, right? Although he didn't want to admit it, this was also the truth. 2 to 3 years was not enough to wipe out the strength of the royal family and the major families. The royal family was still not an opponent of any of these feudal vassals. Tianzi was also not a person who lived in an illusory dream. On the contrary, he still had great talent and bold vision. Admitting his own shortcomings was the source of motivation to move forward. Thus, Tianzi continued to nod. You do such a big business, and you just said that you know a few powerful feudal vassals. Wang Sheng saw that Tianzi was still nodding and asked with a smile, Song, Tang, Qiu, Shi, Dai, or Xia, Feng, and Gan. Among them, there must be one or a few families that know each other, right? Tianzi still nodded. Whether or not they knew each other, he still had to show that he knew Wang Sheng and listen to what he had to say. This is a method that a person named Cao Cao told me. Wang Sheng first removed himself and then said, find the most powerful family that you know, let them find any excuse, and then send troops to the capital. Send troops to the capital? What is this for? Tianzi was shocked and hurriedly asked. The people who came in to protect Tianzi almost didn't dare to listen anymore, and all of them looked extremely unnatural. Brother, are these your men? Wang Sheng suddenly stopped and asked Tianzi a question that was irrelevant to him. Tianzi didn't admit it, but Wang Sheng already reminded, this method of mine, when it comes out of my mouth and enters your ears, it is guaranteed to be effective. But if there are more people who heard it, I can't guarantee it. If one of them leaked it and someone else got ahead of you, you won't have a chance anymore. Just as Wang Sheng's voice fell, Tianzi didn't even have time to react, but those guards' faces had already changed. What Wang Sheng said now was a rebellious method to deal with the royal family. If they really heard it, would they have any good? Even if they dared to swear that they were loyal to Tianzi, they still needed Tianzi to believe it. If it was according to the usual way of dealing with it, these people who knew about it would either be cleanly silenced after the matter was over. This was the most convenient and least troublesome method, or they would be sent to a place where they couldn't see the light of day anymore. Leaving them alive was already the best result. This was the price they had to pay for knowing something they shouldn't know. Are you sure you want them to hear it? Wang Sheng's rhetorical question sounded in everyone's ears. But at this time, in the hearts of the surrounding guards, there was only gratitude. Chapter 429. Wang Sheng was simply a savior. To say such words at this time, it was equivalent to saving the lives of so many of them. Now it was up to Tianzi to see it. If he still felt that it was not safe to face Wang Sheng alone, then these guards had to stay. However, even if there were many people facing the poisonous gas bomb that could kill 600,000 people, who could guarantee the safety of Tianzi? Tianzi also felt that safety was a problem. But when Wang Sheng asked the question, he realized that compared to whether Wang Sheng would kill him or not, the method that could make the royal family suffer from bad luck from Wang Sheng's mouth was the bigger problem. If this answer was known by the surrounding guards, it seemed that other than silencing them, there was really no other way for him to think of. Using his own noble life to exchange for Wang Sheng? Not to mention that Tianzi wasn't willing. Even old eunuch Li wouldn't be willing. But what if Wang Sheng's idea were to be spread out? Tianzi pondered for a while, and then waved his hand to let everyone leave. These people were all seated in succession when Wang Sheng and Tianzi sat together to drink and chat. When they came in, it was very natural and there were no flaws. But the bad thing was that when they stared at the smoke bomb, they were all exposed and discovered by Wang Sheng. However, this was a merit for those people and not a fault. Could it be that they would be punished for exposing themselves for the sake of Tianzi's life? Even if Tianzi's life was hidden well, would he still be rewarded? The group of people left the lobby of the inn as if they were granted amnesty. There were only 3 people left in the entire lobby: Wang Sheng, Tianzi, and the so-called servant who accompanied Tianzi in at the beginning. This person must be a close subordinate of Tianzi, and he was the kind of person that Tianzi absolutely trusted. Otherwise, he wouldn't have stayed. Wang Sheng believed that there were definitely no other eyes and ears around that could hear the sound here. On this point, old monster Li, who came from the royal family, was the same, and so was the shadow old eunuch. All of them were of the same origin. It seemed that in terms of confidentiality, this was a compulsory course for those who came from the royal family. Brother, your business isn't ordinary big. So many guards. Wang Sheng looked at the guards who got up and left one after another and sighed at the emperor. There was a strong smell of alcohol in his mouth, as if he was sighing after drinking. It's just a small business. Tianzi was a little humble. It's still a little worse than Baoqing Yutang and Imperial Treasury. That's amazing. Wang Sheng praised and then asked, "Where are we just now? Speaking of which, a friend of yours called Chow Chow told you about him." Chapter 430. At that time, a lot of things will be simple. Wang Sheng seemed to have a stance of not stopping until he shocked them to death. He continued to describe the horrible scene that the Son of Heaven or the royal family might face. As long as those princes and relatives are talented and bold, Kacha. As he spoke, Wang Sheng made a chopping motion with his palm. Those who are disobedient, Kacha. Those who may be a threat in the future, Kacha. Those who harbor resentment, Kacha. After a few Kacha, the Son of Heaven and the guards' faces turned ashen. Even if the Son of Heaven wanted to pretend to be normal, he couldn't calm down no matter how hard he tried. Looking at Wang Sheng's hand chopping a few times in the air, the Son of Heaven felt that his neck was itchy, as if Wang Sheng's hand had turned into a sharp knife and was chopping down. The rest is easy. Raise them. Wang Sheng seemed to not see the ugly faces of the two and was already immersed in his own fantasy. He continued to say, "Those who are obedient will be given a few mouthfuls of food to eat. Those who are disobedient will not even have food to eat." Isn't it disrespectful to treat the Son of Heaven like this? The last sentence might not be so fierce, so the Son of Heaven quickly adjusted his emotions and asked, "If the other feudal vassals know, I'm afraid they will rise up and crusade against the rebels, right? Do you think the other feudal vassals don't want to threaten the Son of Heaven? Wang Sheng once again gave the Son of Heaven a look of contempt. Or do you think that the feudal vassals are completely loyal to the Son of Heaven? In the end, isn't it all about the means of coming on stage? If he can really give enough benefits to make the other families temporarily submit, when his wings grow, he can clean up one by one under the banner of crusading against disobedient subjects. The Son of Heaven was speechless. If the major families were really loyal to the Son of Heaven, was there a need for him to make such a big move? Originally, the enfeoffment of feudal vassals was a 100-year plan, and the long-term effect was dependent on the long-term effect. He didn't expect that in just a few days, the feudal vassals would see the benefits of enfeoffment. Before the Son of Heaven could continue to carry out the next step of the division plan, Wang Sheng gave the feudal vassals a big killing weapon to threaten the Son of Heaven. If the means of coming on stage are bad, then he deserves to be driven off. Wang Sheng wasn't polite to the feudal vassals and analyzed, but the Son of Heaven, whoever comes on stage, will definitely be raised. You can't use the word raise, right? The Son of Heaven squeezed out a smile and said, to treat the Son of Heaven, you have to use respect or worship, right? TSK, that's just an excuse. What's the difference? Wang Sheng retorted disdainfully. It's basically a rearing. What's the difference between rearing pigs and sheep? If he is happy, he will be fed. If he is unhappy, he will be fed. If he is of him, he will be fed. If something really happens, I'll just push this Son of Heaven that I've raised for who knows how long to take the blame, and then change to another Son of Heaven. Wang Sheng's words were very cruel, but in essence, that was the case. The Son of Heaven knew this, and so did the legendary bodyguard. It was just a difference in words, but was there any difference in essence? At that time, the Son of Heaven will be nothing more than a human-shaped seal. When he needs it, he will be stamped. When he doesn't need it, he will go back to the pig house to eat and sleep. Wang Sheng didn't care about the fact that this was the capital, the imperial city, and under the feet of the Son of Heaven. He was not polite when judging the Son of Heaven. Isn't it too disrespectful to talk about the Son of Heaven like this? The legendary master couldn't help but ask. It could be considered as helping the Son of Heaven out of the situation. At the same time, he gave a disrespectful hat to Wang Sheng. How many gold coins do you have? They have all been taken by the royal family. How can you still be so respectful? I'm impressed. Wang Sheng gave a thumbs up to the Son of Heaven. This was already the umpteenth time he gave a thumbs up today. The implication was that the royal family didn't do things properly. Wang Sheng naturally didn't have any respect. At this moment, the Son of Heaven didn't have the mood to pursue Wang Sheng's disrespect. When he thought of raising pigs and the words human-shaped seal, he couldn't help but think that if the feudal vassals knew about this method, would he really become a human-shaped seal? From just now until now, the sweat on the Son of Heaven's body hadn't stopped. It kept coming out one after another. He couldn't stop even if he wanted to. If it feels good to threaten the Son of Heaven, and after a few years, he will get a lot of benefits. Maybe this feudal vassal will have other ideas. Wang Sheng was purely horrified. The consequences were getting more and more serious. Other ideas? What ideas? The Son of Heaven took out a silk handkerchief and wiped the sweat off his forehead. He calmed down his breathing and asked, "What other ideas can there be?" Wang Sheng casually replied, "The river flows east for 30 years, and the river flows west for 30 years. The emperor takes turns. This year, it's my family's turn. Am I right?" There was a guy named Chun Shi who said, "Do all the nobles have guts?" There was also a guy named Xiang Yu who said, "He can be replaced." There was also a petty official named Liu Bang who said, "A real man should be like this." By the way, can you understand what I'm saying? The Son of Heaven met with knowledgeable officials every day. How could he not understand such simple words? But the more he understood these words, the more frightened he was. With this idea, let the Son of Heaven write an edict to abdicate and give the position of Son of Heaven to himself and announce it to the world. Wang Sheng raised both of his hands and looked straight at the Son of Heaven. He said loudly, "Title and righteousness are all there. A new son of heaven will inherit the throne, and a new royal family will be born. The whole world will celebrate, and the people will support us." How good is that? The son of heaven didn't say anything, but the hands of the legendary expert began to tremble. No matter how many times he faced powerful enemies, there wasn't a time like today. Just a few words from Wang Sheng was enough to make him feel such fear. That was a terrifying thought that made the depths of one's soul tremble. Wang Sheng seemed to feel that he hadn't had enough and continued, "There's also a guy named Dong Zhuo. That's right, this guy is a pervert and not a good person. He said that one day when he enters the palace, he will not leave. If he wants to sleep with the son of heaven's wife, he will sleep with his wife. If he wants to sleep with the son of heaven's daughter, he will sleep with the son of heaven's daughter. If the son of heaven dares to be unhappy, he will be escorted by an expert to watch from the side. He is also not allowed to close his eyes." The son of heaven's body began to tremble. He was purely angered by this disgusting thought. If he put himself in the son of heaven's shoes, he wouldn't even dare to think about it. Dong Zhuo is a bastard, so you don't have to care about what he said. Cao Cao's words are more powerful, right? Wang Sheng's goal of intimidation had been achieved. After finishing his words, he didn't forget to ask for the son of heaven's thoughts. "Damn, trying to disguise your identity in front of a senior sniper with enhanced vision. I have seen through you 1,000 times. I can't scare you to death." You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.